Welcome back to the Fast Life Podcast. I want to thank you guys for joining us. Today we have the guys from Vex Cycles. But before we get into it, let's check out these sponsors. Simpson motorcycle helmets has been my helmet of choice for the last 4 years. I personally dig the Ghost Bandit the most, but really leaning towards rocking the Mod Bandit for the next year of riding. Really not sure yet. We'll see how that goes. If you guys want to head on over to simpsonmotorcyclehelmets.com, you can check out the models and finishes and visor options and see what fits you the best. And also, don't forget to give my guys a follow on Instagram at Simpson Motorcycle Helmets. Lexin is my go-to for not only my Bluetooth system, the FT4 Pro, on my helmets, but now my wireless charging solution on the road as well with their WPC QI wireless charger. This is a water-resistant wireless charger for the Ram Mount X Grip phone holder. This easy-to-set-up system uses a battery tender-style plug for easy install and will only set you back $64.95 with a 2-year unlimited warranty. You can also grab yourself a Lexin WPC and Ram X mount for $110 at lexin-moto.com. And at checkout, drop the Fast Life offer code and save yourself 15% off. And don't forget to give my dudes Lexin a follow on Instagram at lexin-moto. Check them out. With my recent 131 crate engine install, my thundermax ECM was able to get me an extra 136 horsepower and 146 foot-pounds over the 124 and 131 projected HD numbers with their tuner. The computer is constantly tuning my bike to the elevation and weather conditions as I ride, which gives me the optimal performance all the time. I also run the thundermax fan for the M8 touring models. The oil cooler fan was a big help with my 114 and a must with the new 131 motor. thundermax has your EFI equipped Harley Davidsons covered, and you can check out all these products at shoptmax.com and use the offer code FASTLIFE at checkout, which saves you 10% off. And give these dudes a follow on Instagram at thundermaxEFI. I recently switched all my lighting on my Road Glide to Letric Lighting Co. I'm a huge fan of the looks and the improved visibility I get from the shark tooth headlight, and I'm digging the 5-year warranty on the 15 different LED headlight options for your motorcycle. Their deluxe and premium LED turn signals offers 530 lumens of bright white running light, which are the brightest in the industry and have a lifetime warranty. And last but not least, the LED tail lamps come in a wide range of designs to add that finishing touch, and all products are plug and play. NAM's custom cycle products since 1999 have been offering American-made wiring products for all things V-twin, and Badlands for over 30 years has been offering the most reliable and dependable lighting modules in the USA, backed by a lifetime warranty. Find out more about these great companies at namscustomcycleproducts.com, and you can drop in the FL2020 offer code, which gives you free shipping on all orders over $100. Check them out, guys. John Jessup's Team Dream Rides out of Stockton, California is a one-stop shop for you to have your motorcycle customized, maintained, repaired, and upgraded with in-house dyno tuning and parts and accessories. Also, check out teamdreamrides.com online store to see the full array of products for your bike and you as a rider. And if you're short on cash, you can take advantage of the 100 days same as cash financing on all products on teamdreamrides.com. All you need is a job and a bank account. And while you're at it, give John and the team a follow at DreamRidesJohn on Instagram. Paint Huffer Metal Flake has been with our podcast since day one, and I've been using their flakes and pearls in my paint work for over 4 years now. And you can get started down this custom paint path as well with many must-have items for the custom paint process. Head on over to painthuffer.com and you can save yourself some coin by using FastLife21 offer code. And last but not least, you can get some inspiration by checking out all the amazing paint work created with Paint Huffer products at Paint Huffer Metal Flake on Instagram. And we're back with the guys from Vex Cycles located in Janesville, Wisconsin. Check them out on Instagram at Vex Cycles. want to thank them for coming up to the House of Harley Davidson spot where I was recording these podcasts and sitting down and sharing some insights on their time growing their shop and whatnot. So anyway, let's get right into it. And here we go. Let's do it.
Hey guys, you ready to let the dogs out?
Fast Life Podcast.
But yeah, man,
I don't want to sit next to you. This is weird.
it's weird.
It's like being in the bathroom and like there's multiple urinals,
Oh, you need at least
but
a
you
space.
haul up right next to the dude.
Yeah,
It's some space.
it's all good. I like shitting next to people in urine stalls.
Yeah,
And just
get right up in
stick
there.
your foot underneath it and just kind of like invade their space a little bit.
Just to make it weird.
Yeah, exactly. Throw things down there. Oh, sorry, and then reach under and grab it.
We're at work. I like to play music on my phone. Like one time I was playing that one song, Just the Two of Us.
Hell yeah.
He got me though. He totally fucking touche'd me and like played Salt and Pepper. Push it.
Oh, hell yeah, that'd be fun.
God damn it.
If you want to make it awkward, just put some porn on loud.
I'll do that next time.
Be fun.
That's a great idea. I like that one.
It's all about making it awkward, buddy.
How about it?
So that's what happened. You guys.
Use guys.
I'm learning how to talk here. You guys just came up to the rally. So was that rally basically usually the Harley anniversary party is what it is?
Yeah, usually it's a big rally for Milwaukee in general. So they didn't. I know Harley didn't really get involved in it. It seemed like all the dealerships did. So
Yeah, it was kind of weird because Harley didn't do anything in Sturgis this year. They didn't even, from what I understand, they didn't even want any of their actual corporate there at all.
no,
But it's kind of weird, right? Why would you want? I think it goes. We'll get into like you guys in a second, but I got a thought here. I got to exercise it. It seems like all these companies that make a product, all of a sudden now need to have an opinion about everything in the world. Right? You know what I mean?
Yep.
and it would be nice if they would keep it to themselves once in a while.
Yeah, it's like Clorox bleach, bro. I don't care what your stance is on climate change.
Right. Yeah, we don't
Just
need
disinfect
to know.
my shit.
Yeah, dude, just be anonymous.
And that, dude, it's with everything right now. Every company just jumping on the bandwagon to be,
Yeah.
oh, I'm on this side. Don't pick sides.
Yeah.
If you want people to buy your stuff, stay
Yeah, what was it? The
neutral.
Goya beans or
Right. Yeah, because Trump said, "Yay, Goya."
Yeah, it's like
A part of it too is that you see the activists. I mean, they really get in and they like get in there and they fester and they just like they're like, oh, you got a platform, you need to be using it. It's like, no, I don't. I make fucking motorcycles.
Yeah.
I don't need to fucking jump into that
Exactly.
cesspool of shit slinging. It's like I don't just because I have a platform doesn't mean I need to say shit one way or the other. Fuck
Right.
off.
when I first started kind of being semi-responsible adult business owner.
Semi.
Don't
get crazy.
and that's why I'm about to lead into the semi part.
Good, I like it.
So it was like early Facebook, and I went down a rabbit hole of like questioning God and Christianity and all this shit. And then YouTube was very convincing back in the day to help me confirm that bias,
Because
right?
those videos look so official.
Yeah.
It's like
And so like I would get in there and get super wrapped up in things and then feel empowered. This is early Facebook days. Feel empowered to share my findings to the world and then debate them as why they should do it too. And I realized really early on that doesn't get you anywhere. And then if you're a business owner, it literally slices off more and more and more people that are probably not going to mess with you because they don't care about my stance on Christianity and God. They just want me to paint bikes.
Yep.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that doesn't mean you can't have an opinion on the shit, It's just as soon as you start going one way or the other and voicing your opinion, it's like you can count on alienating a good chunk of your people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe even half.
And the motor company seems to be doing that hard right now. Like
Yeah.
now with the shift change and the CEO and all that, it's like, man, do you guys remember who buys your bikes, right? Like you can't segregate one person for the
I don't know if they're trying to go full fucking woke or what the deal is, man. But like, dude, that's really, really risky. No matter what direction you go with it.
Yeah.
I mean,
it is like that. It's like but I mean, it makes sense for them to go that way because in the CEO now, he was the Puma guy or some shit. And I mean, Puma is like the wokest shoe you can wear,
I was just
right?
gonna say, like,
it's like the most Euro-centric.
yeah, you totally want Pumas on when you are lighting shit on fire and running. Like, that's the shoe to have. I'm a PF Flyer guy, but
You go faster that way.
But I mean, like I said, I think some things I've heard about it. It sounds like it's a good take. It's not the same shit. I think maybe I don't know.
Right.
But,
Well, and there's nothing wrong with trying to be innovative and do something new and capture a younger audience. I mean, I know they were bringing out the Street Fighter bike, and now they canceled it. It's like, no, stay the course with it.
Yeah.
Do something like.
yeah,
I think they're in trouble no matter what they do. I think
Yeah.
I saw some trends starting back in like the 2008, after the 105th. Things I saw were like you're starting to see major like safety related campaigns, I mean the parts that you need for these bikes, that are safety related issues, they're going fucking back ordered, and then they're like getting superseded multiple times, and there's all this other stuff. I was like, and like, why am I seeing basic painted parts, no fancy Dragonfly shit, no whatever. I'm seeing real basic color stuff, going obsolete after one model year, and I'm like, okay. I mean, these are just like red flags that started popping up to me, and I'm like, I think there's something weird going on up there. I couldn't put my finger on it, but it just felt like everything was trending downwards.
me and fuck, I forgot his name. I think it's Alex who we were just talking about.
Yeah, Alex.
We were just talking about this literally on the podcast, and I feel like they have a young audience already. I just don't think that they realize it because they're not tapped into the channels. They're reading charts and not looking at the fact that now, of course, the Instagram guys that like the style of bikes that you guys built to bring up here and what we kind of try to promote, it's small numbers compared to most of the dudes that are riding Harleys, but it's something that is already there. It's almost like they want to completely go make a whole nother garden when this garden already has something planted. All you gotta do is water it a little bit and it'll grow.
Always.
You know what I mean? And it's like they're just not even looking at that. They want the business class millennial that, probably doesn't do much in his life other than, pay off his student loans and shit.
Yeah. I don't think they can afford the class that they had, the class that they need to be targeting. They can't afford to target. And I don't mean that like it costs too much. I mean, like, they are going to have to cut back a lot. Harley's going to cut back a lot more than what they already have.
They have to swallow their pride.
They do. But I mean, you can't take a $30,000 electric motorcycle and put it out there into a woke crowd who's got fucking 80 grand worth of,
But I mean,
freaking liberal studies degree, student loans to pay off, and it's like a $9 an hour coffee shop job isn't going to fucking pay that off, and then you're
once they get the $15 an hour thing passed, it'll be okay. After that.
Right.
They can afford
Stop.
And then the Harleys will be $50,000.
Yeah.
But no, they have a whole generation of just us riders.
Yeah.
We all. I mean, I come from sport bikes. Harp
Me
comes
too.
from sport bikes. Who hasn't really? We
Yeah.
ride dirt. It's all of our generation now. Those dudes are riding Harleys.
But see, what's wrong is it's not us dudes in corporate making decisions.
Right.
It's dudes that never rode Harleys or maybe just came around to it because of Instagram culture making it look fun and shit. But, I've said this in the last podcast. I when I was a kid, when I was 24 years old, when I was 22, nobody was talking about buying a Harley in my age group. It was all like, dude, you see a new R1 that just came out? Fuck. You know what I mean? Like, nobody's talking about Harley. And now I feel like everybody's going straight to Harley. So, I said, you have it already. Do something with it. You know what I mean?
I keep on just Harley was set. Like, they had the ball in their court. They got rid of the Dyna. Okay. The Softail's fantastic. They shouldn't have called it a Softail. Still to this day. And it's like, make an FXR reversion. Something light, big power, and affordable. How many guys would buy them? I'd go buy one.
I think that the Lowrider S is the platform now. We're having to take saddlebags off of the Sport Glide and possibly an old Repop RT fairing to kind of make the bike we want, right? But I think that next year maybe we'll see a little bit of wokeness in our direction, if you will, from them, maybe.
If they were smart. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm still shocked they even brought the Lowrider S back.
Yeah.
I had a 16 as well before, and it was by far my favorite Harley I've ever rode.
Uh-huh.
And then down the road, I've gone through a couple different ones, and now I went and got the Lowrider S. I didn't even test ride it. I already knew how the Softail platform handled to begin with, and then when they came out with that, it's such a win on every aspect. Obviously, I'm biased because I have one, but
Yeah. It's a great bike, man. It
yeah.
really is.
I think the whole, like, I don't know, I call it like the hooligan class of rider, you know? I mean, I think that's what's getting the younger crowd off of, you know, starting on sport bikes and things like that, like we all did back in the day, and into Harleys, because they're like, holy fuck, dude, you see that guy rip that sick wheelie through that intersection, you know?
Yeah.
Or do you see, you know, guys are riding these things like they're fucking dirt bikes.
Yeah.
And, you know, oh, damn, you know, I can go have fun. I don't have to be the stereotypical fat old guy, you know, with vest extenders and, you know, fucking cigarette butts hanging out of his beard and shit. And it's like, that was the crowd, like, we used to make fun of those guys.
Exactly.
You know, and
and we even say that in Dallas too, because we don't really have think about like a biker bar, right? I would consider us bikers, right?
sure.
I don't really fit in with that crowd.
Yeah, I don't either.
You know what I mean? And so, like, you know, when we try to organize bike nights in down there and you tell someone it's a bike night, they just like, man, I don't know if I want that kind of crowd. I'm like, look, no, we dress normal. We have jobs.
That's us.
We got credit, you know.
The new school.
Yeah. So it's I know what you mean, man. It's
I saw that like going kind of back to the Lowrider S thing, you know, it's like everybody just fucking panned that thing when it came out, and there was like, no, it's a Softail, like we want to ride the fuck out of it. You can't ride a shit out of a Softail. And then a friend of mine, he's a dealership guy, and he's out east, and he's he's a member of a motorcycle club, very, very, very large, well-known club. And he was the first one to tell me, he's like, bro, you know, I would fucking hammer this bike into the ground if I hated it and I thought it sucked. He goes, I'm telling you, this bike is really legit. He goes, I rode the fuck out of this thing, and he goes, it's way better than my Dyna.
we started the podcast in 2017. I don't know. I think it was 18. So we started in 18, but they released the Softails in September 17th, or 2017. And so a lot of the early podcasts, as crude as they are, we were talking about, like, I wonder if this bike rips. I wonder if it's badass. And at the time, 6 months after it came out, there was really no aftermarket yet.
Mm-hmm.
There was no – it was kind of like it's a new platform. Everybody was getting their hands on it, trying to R&D parts. And now we look at it like, 3 years later, now we have like some of the sickest builds coming out are these Softails, like the one that you guys built. And
that was Van. I didn't do shit on that bike. I tuned it.
So, having these things come out now, it's like, oh, now it's solidified. Now we don't even question the fact that these bikes, for the most part, do handle better than FXRs and things like that.
Right.
And I agree with what you said about, like, those hooligans and the chopper dudes and the FXR guys. They do inspire people to want to get on these bikes. Mm-hmm. But not everybody wants to get on bikes that require so much work and maintenance. So these newer bikes are a good option. Or they get interested in, they go get that old Dyna, that old Evo Dyna that's all fucked up and it wobbles and all that shit.
Yep.
And they're like, oh man, I love riding, but I hate all these, I hate all these problems, so I'm just gonna get a new bike. So like I said, I think they're full of shit. They got a young audience, man.
And I hated the Softail when it came out when we were in the dealership. I'm like, oh, come on, Harley, like, seriously.
Oh yeah, we all bitch about it.
But I mean, I think the first Softail I took was probably a Fat Boy, and it was stuck to the corners. I'm like, this thing handles. Yeah.
God damn.
I'm like,
They got a big ass tire.
Oh,
on them,
yeah.
don't they? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So then, going through obviously with setups and stuff, you always got to ride them, and then that FXDR or whatever it is, the other fat tire thing, gone now. But
everybody saw that patent for the FXDR and go, oh shit, it's about to go down. And we get a B-ride.
such a
Everyone's
tease.
rolling their sleeves up, getting ready.
Harley's like, ooh, guess what we got? Nope, wrong way. Yeah. But that thing stuck in the corners too. I was impressed at how well that rode, and obviously now with the Lowrider S and just the standard Dyna Softails, they all just handle anyway. So
I will say that Harley's got, like, the engineering stuff is it's like finally coming around.
Yeah.
But I kind of, part of me feels like that's not going to be the savior of the company. Not that I think they're going to fold up, but I don't think that, I think they're doing things now that they should have always been doing instead of focusing on fucking dog leashes and coffee cups and, you should ride it because of the lifestyle. And it's like, dude, that lifestyle ain't going to hang in there forever.
Yeah.
Everything goes in waves, and, it's just...
Well,
like,
Harley likes riding the coattails of the wave.
They do, but they're always like a day late and $1 short. It's like they show up, dude, fucking V-Rod, it's Marvel Engineering. It's like Yamaha is doing that shit with the VMAX like 20 fucking years ago, guys.
Realistically, we've been so deprived on technology and performance that sometimes if you just dangle a couple, it's like when you don't get, your old lady doesn't give you any ever, and then she just gets you.
And then you catch her in a towel coming out of the shower, like, oh, I saw an ankle.
So yeah, I feel like they just need to. Once again, I said in this last podcast, a couple little new things to add onto these bikes. Newer style headlights that make these things look a little more modern to kind of fit. Because you have the original headlights. I'm just using it as an example. You got like the traditional headlight we've always had on a lowrider, even the road glides and stuff. But then if you came out with something that was like an option where it did have a little technology in it, some little LEDs and some soft lighting kind of, shit. I'm like, man, that would make me feel like this $30,000 road glide I just bought has
worth $30,000.
Yeah, instead of also the one that's $20,000 the year before has the same headlight.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It's still different riding a Harley, though. I mean, you still ride a metric cruiser of some sort, and it still feels so plasticky.
Oh yeah, that's how I got into the industry. Was I got a job as I started riding a sport bike and fixing everything that I wrecked on it, and I was like, oh man, this is awesome. It'd be cool to do this for a living. Yeah, 20 years later. So we, I got a job. At a dealership, a metric dealership, setting up bikes, doing prep setup stuff, and I was like, yeah, now I know I want to go to school to do this and make this my career and whatever. But even then, and it's nothing against the metric bikes, it really isn't, because I don't care what people ride at all. But compared to a Harley, man, it doesn't matter. It could be the lowliest. It could be a fucking, late 70s iron head that's been made with 77 through 80, like whatever parts they had, because that's what they were doing, just throwing them together at the time and soaking up old inventory. But it at least feels like it's got some soul. Yeah. I could fucking ghost ride a Honda Shadow 600 brand new out of the box into a parked car and not feel bad about it at all.
Like just did someone a solid.
Yeah, right. Like,
well, the thing with those metric bikes that a lot of people don't, they'll have like inverted front ends or radial brakes and calipers and things like that, or it's not radial, whatever.
Radial mount.
Yeah. Just nicer shit and stuff like that. But those bikes have no resale value. They have zero aftermarket parts, and even zero. Like, go try to find like a V-Star part from like 02 right now.
Right.
And those bikes are all over Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace for like $1,500.
Yep.
So people don't know shit about bikes. They buy them. And then any carburetor parts or fuel injected, I think it was more that time. And there's just no parts out there because there was never a market for the bike.
Yeah, right. I had to do a voltage regulator for a guy's kid's bike or something, and I was all like, holy fuck, I gotta like cut some stuff up to put this regulator on. You mean I can't get it? Yeah, like fucking fuck with the bracket and the mounting.
You gotta really work hard to try to make a metric bike really like your own personal bike.
Yeah.
Harley's always been open to that.
So when I first, coming from sport bikes like you did as well, and I don't know if you guys were customizing them much or if you just, whatever you were doing, but
I was cutting stuff off of it because I crashed it probably.
Imagine that. So I was customizing.
Yeah, I heard it's not custom until you cut.
Exactly. So we would be customizing these bikes, and then of course, paint jobs, fat tire kits, just everything, LEDs out of the ass. I was that guy at one point in time. And then people would. And then when we started switching to Harleys, a lot of the guys would be ready to get off the sport bikes and get into Harleys or cruisers, and they would go, you know what? I'm going to go get that fucking bike over there because it's $10,000 less. But then I'm going to go buy all these fucking Harley parts and try to fit them on there. And I'm like, dude, you're gonna make up the difference in all the fabrication and the complexities of trying to fit this bar size to yours because you want these fucking Carlinis on there. And you know what I mean? Like, none of that shit works. You're like making metric shit and standard shit fit together.
Yeah, and like you can't just take a giant drill bit and fucking drill out the, where the riser bolts go through the triple tree because they're not wide enough to fit your handlebars. Like, no.
Well, metric shit used to do crazy shit. Kind of Harley did every once in a while where they'll like make the top tree the riser.
Oh, yeah.
So there's literally no way to put any other bar on there.
No, yeah, totally. And then it's like, okay, now you got to drop another 800, 900 or more on a set of triple trees to
the fun black lines with their
right,
little horns as handlebars.
No,
cool bike.
So I would always tell them, like, man, like the amount of effort you're making you think you're saving by getting this bike, and then knowing that everybody else just went straight to Harley, and doing that, and you're gonna go buy fucking Harley saddlebags because now you want to turn your non-bagger into a bagger.
Oh God!
And then you want a stereo on it.
I got this Batwing fairing. It needs to be on there.
Right.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah. I was when I got into riding, decided I was gonna make it a career. Like, I was riding a fucking 1200 Ninja around. Mm-hmm. I'm 19, 20. I couldn't pass the physical to get into the service. Fucking had no idea what I was going to do with my life. And I'm like, I get this job. I'm going to go to school, all this stuff. I'm going to be the guy at the Harley. I'm going to go work on Harleys because that's where the money is,
Yeah.
And then I was like, but I'm going to keep riding that sport bike and I don't give a fuck what anybody says to me. And that did not end up happening at all. It was like, before I knew it, I was the guy with the bagger and the bandana and the fucking leather vest.
Hell yeah, bro.
You found yourself at the
I did. Me and Bad Boy Brad.
Getting white walls and pinstriping.
Yeah. Start at my boots.
Yeah.
Work your way up with the camera.
Work your way up. So how is that pretty much what, how long did you do the sport bike things before y'all guys graduated, basically?
I did. I was a car mechanic originally, so I've always had the passion of two wheels in the dirt, but we always rode in the early 2000s. Sport bikes were, that was big.
It was big, yeah.
Mm-hmm. We used to, our city, we used to pack it down on where we all used to, cruise the strip and stuff, and there'd be just a row of 40, 50 bikes. Mm-hmm. And it was awesome to see.
Yeah.
And then, so we always had that going, and then just that weird little time there where people kind of stopped riding motorcycles after that. And then
that was like 08, 09, I felt like.
Yeah,
when
the
things,
Obama years. Everyone was miserable.
Goddamn guy.
It felt really weird around that time because, in Texas, the market didn't really crash, or at least I was too young for it to affect anything in my life.
Right.
I didn't fucking own anything, you know what I mean? But, dude, I talk about these bike nights that we used to have, just like you would say, it's like every Thursday. It wasn't even anybody's bike night. It's just a Sonic became the spot.
Right.
And
nobody even needed to say anything. It's just you rode by and saw somebody decided to take the initiative and fucking put the kickstand out. And then it's like, before you know it, there's 20, 30, 40 guys there hanging out.
Yep.
I was actually up in Madison at the time. And there was on East Washington Avenue, which was the cruise strip and whatever. There was a gas station that was like that. And the cops always used to try and come and break it up. And the gas station owners were like, fucking leave them guys alone, They keep the parking lot safe, and they're not out there
buying
doing
drinks,
exactly,
snacks and shit.
Yep. So. It was just that generation after our generation that just nobody wanted to ride.
Yeah,
play it on the video games.
Like stunt riding was around. Obviously, people been riding wheelies on motorcycles forever, but remember, like in the stunt scene on sport bikes, how in like the early 2000s you had like the Rough Riders and the Star Boys.
Yep.
And then
Star Boys, I haven't heard that in a minute.
Yeah. And then you got like they were doing wheelies, like high chairs, but it was all like highway shit. Everybody was like rolling with the traffic, and then
you were going to the video store to rent the fucking videotapes to watch it.
Exactly.
Along with bare knuckle UFC.
That was a good time, though. We
Faces of Death.
Yeah,
that was an excellent time though, because everybody was just in the game in general.
Yeah. They didn't give a fuck about nothing else except riding.
Right.
You know, it wasn't about like, hey, fucking look at me and whatever. It was just like, dude, can you fucking rip that wheelie for, you know,
Right.
all right, now get up on the passenger. Oh, fuck, that guy's on the back seat, you know? Like,
Yeah.
before you know it, is everybody just trying to one-up each other. And
Right.
Yeah, and then it became the slower stuff in the parking lots, and that took the stunt world to a whole nother level. And then it got like, I don't know, I guess it was kind of cool doing wheelies down the highway because we all probably did them, you know what I mean?
yeah.
We weren't like probably professionals at it. Maybe, I don't know about you guys.
Nope.
I definitely wasn't. But
It's professional at getting caught doing dumb shit.
yeah. But then, like I said, it just got to the point where they were that little sect or that sport kind of progressed into something that was like almost like training. Like anything else would be like, no, I ain't trying to. I'm trying to go have a beer at Sonic or
Right.
not Sonic, but get a beer, go to Sonic, drink it, you know, so they don't see. And then we're gonna go drag race, wheelie. We're gonna wheelie to the drag race spot.
Right.
Drag race, and then after that's over, we're gonna go hit up. We're gonna go find some chicks that are leaving the clubs and bars and go try to take one home.
Right.
That was every fucking week, man.
Right.
And that's probably what kids are doing now on Dynas. And I'm fucking almost 40 years old, so I
Right.
definitely don't have that kind of nighttime energy. I can't make those night moves anymore like that. So
I'm always working at night, so I don't
I was
get
just
that
gonna say,
option.
I got like my normal job is a swing shift job, and I'm on nights right now, so it's like staying up all night long right now is fucking no problem for me. But
we've definitely lived in a great generation of just watching motorcycles in general. I mean, some of the greats on dirt, you know, we got to all, you know, we're all the same age basically,
Yeah.
so we all got to see them dudes, the whole stunt scene. You know, down in Janesville where we're at, Vertical Mischief came up. They're all buddies of mine. I all got to just watch them progress from the haggard sideways power wheelie into just being able to actually throw the bike around, you know. And now, I mean, a couple of them still ride, but the one, Joe Beavers, he's out riding Harley, you know. And to watch that just whole movement go too, it's just it's crazy.
Yeah, like for me, watching guys like, I don't know, for me, it was probably the first guy I ever saw like fucking really ripping a Harley apart was probably like Jason Poulin, you know, and that was the guy where you're like doing a double take. It's like, holy fuck, that guy's on a Harley. You know, like, did I see that?
Right.
You know, it's like, yeah, and you just ride the fucking wheels off of it.
It seems like there's something more impressive about somebody throwing a Harley around for sure all day.
And that was what blew my mind because for the sport bike guys, you're just watching, you know, you're like, oh, that fucking slow ass, loud, obnoxious, fucking oil leaking piece of shit, whatever, you know, and then you watch a guy do that and you're like, dude, I got no words. Like, there's no way I'm seeing this.
I would argue that, you know, it was unknown that really helped make the wheelies make the Harley look attractive to younger
attractive
people.
Doing it.
Right.
You know, because Jason Pullins was fucking 10 years before Unknown, but all of a sudden Unknown is like these young dirt bike kids with fucking Vans on and like, you know, this whole style. And then the bikes are all beautiful. And so it just kind of made it look like, oh, that shit looks dope.
Yeah, we're like the $30 budget Midwest white trash unknown version in Janesville.
There you go.
Well, there's, you know, everyone's just got that stereotypical bagger that you always, you know.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with them, but
the unknown guys kind of made it like you said, the flashy part of it, where it's like, Poulin's bikes were very, I mean, like it has all the bracketry for doing his stunts and all that other stuff, you know, but you didn't want to put a flashy paint job on it, you know, you wanted the fucker rhino lined and like.
You remember the Fur days?
Oh God,
yeah.
I had a bike named Furby, so
I didn't get into it.
That was such an awful stunt era.
Yeah. It's like, let's just fur out the bike that we can have those zip ties, all the Frankenstein zip ties.
It's great for you painters. No, I don't want paint. Just give me the longest fur you got.
Yeah, right. I'll take the
like
3-inch shag.
Oh, terrible.
But yeah, that's what it was. I mean, by the time I ended up getting into the bagger stuff, I was kind of more interested in the, you know, because I customized bikes, I painted them, so I needed to chase where the money was for the most part, you know what I mean? And then when Unknown came out, I was like, oh, I forgot to be a kid almost and do that shit.
Yeah.
You know, I was so busy chasing like where the money was at in the industry.
Right.
So what, you know, Tommy was telling me you guys both worked in the dealerships, or
Yeah.
Well, Van and I got sold for a Twix bar and a pack of cigarettes in prison to Van, so that's how we met.
Yeah, we worked at our local dealership. You were there. Harp was there, 13 years?
Yeah, just about.
Yeah.
I
ended
a
up.
long haul.
I was in the car world for a long time, always had bikes, and then I worked at local Triumph dealership for a while, and that really, Todd, the owner there, he really kind of got the whole customizing thing going, even on a Triumph. I mean, Triumph actually has a lot of cool bikes,
yeah.
and that, you know, they've really come a long way, and Todd was super just OCD, picky. And then I'm like, man, okay. And I always had, you know, I have OCD regardless anyway. Like,
Yeah.
cables on handbars, they drive me insane if you can't tuck that shit. Like,
yeah,
that's the first thing I see on anyone's bike. Like, but he really, you know, going all the way down to the nut and bolt, like polishing bolts and stuff like that. He instilled that in me. And then when I went to Harley, I was like, you know, brought that OCD into the Harley world and really kind of was like, man, you can do a lot with these things. And then it just kind of spiraled from there.
you can do a lot with them, and there's a lot of people to sell it to.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like then the more, you know, like for me with paint, it's easy because, you know, just about everybody wants, if not a full paint job, something personalized.
Yeah,
whether it's
right.
memorial or, you know, some fucking something, you know.
Well, and that was the problem in Triumph Land. You're making stuff to work because there's some aftermarket, but not like the Harley. I get into Harley, I'm like, there's all kinds of stuff to do, you know.
Yeah, it's endless.
And then being at Harley, learning, you know, Harp's an amazing engine builder, and he taught me a bunch of stuff on the. I've always been performance oriented anyway, but you know, learning from him in the performance on the engine aspect, and then bringing my own style into just making them look. I can't do stock. I got to have it look
tearing
something,
up,
you know.
Well, that's a good partnership to have, though. Someone that's technical with the inside and someone that can make the outside look as good as the inside runs.
Right, and you know, he had the experience and all that.
I am not a fucking Flash guy at all, though, until I met Van, and then I was all like watching the stuff he was doing, and just super, like, I would say bold choices for, like, you know, colors, and like, I'm gonna fucking paint that, or that's gonna be this color and whatever, and you're stepping back, and I'm kind of just like, okay. And then you see it all come together.
Like
and
my
I'm
first
like,
Dyna, when we painted the heads and cylinders blue to match the bike.
But it's still fucking cool, though. I still look at that bike. Travis, our buddy's bought that and is riding the shit out of it now, but I look at that bike now and I'm still like, that was a good call.
You should have seen when I brought them heads and cylinders into the shop. Everyone's like, what the fuck did you do? I'm like, just relax.
We used to paint a lot of heads and cylinders on, like, the TV chopper days.
Right.
Lots of that shit. I actually tie-dyed a Rick Fairless
Oh my God.
whole motor, and he rides it still, but I don't know how the fuck the paint stuck on it. I never offered that shit once I was like solo on my own.
Right.
You know what I mean?
This one lasted a good couple of years, but now it definitely needs a little revamp. But
Yeah.
that's to be expected with paint on a hot engine.
I was always just the mechanical guy. Like, I never, all my shit, all my everything all had factory paint on it because I didn't care. It's not like I wanted it wrecked or nothing like that, but like I was all about just riding the bike, and you know, like, it was nothing to jump on that bike and fucking leave Wisconsin at 3:30 in the morning and come pulling into Texas at, you know, 6:30, 7 o'clock at night, like real riding, you know. And I didn't care how flashy it looked or how good it looked. And I've been seeing what Van does over the years, and I'm like, yeah, I want that.
That's been our industry for the last couple of years with the Dynas, the performance bikes, and things like that. Because most people, you know, performance and flash don't necessarily go together, right?
Right. I think they're two different mindsets.
They are, but so like it's you know, I was just saying this we were talking down there. You got all these people that are gonna, you know, build a Dyna or they're gonna build a bagger, and they're gonna buy all these parts off the shelf because it's not chopper building, like making a fender, making these mounts, making this. It's, you know, I want this exhaust, those bars, this seat, let's put red stitching in it, let's do this. I mean, that's just the customizing we're doing now, but there is still talent in that. There's
definitely.
vision.
You still got to make it look good.
Yeah. And so, but the only thing that's going to make, I mean, at the end of the day, the exhaust is still the same as everybody else can buy, or the bars or whatever. So sometimes it's the color and the finishes that help set the things apart and separate it from, somebody just buying it out of the catalog and then someone taking it and making everything different than it was when it came from the catalog.
Right. Well, and you get the whole Orange County chopper thing, like they always had a theme for a bike, and it's kind of nice to go with a theme now, I mean, my bike now, I call it Shredder just because I'm like, I'm gonna have a lot of silver. Well, let's find a villain that was silver and red, and there was none. So Shredder from the Ninja Turtles worked out.
He was silver and purple, wasn't he?
He had a red cape on in some of them.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Okay. So I remember,
there's a lot of different Shredders, though.
Whoa.
But, I mean, finding a theme that all goes together and works, that's just kind of how it goes.
Y'all go through phases where you name your bikes too?
Oh, I was just gonna say, Van's got me naming my shit now.
Yeah, I pretty much always name mine. I don't know. It gives it the identity.
Every time someone I've done it before, but I kind of forget about it sometimes. And then I'll be sitting here and talking to a guy, and he's he built a chopper, and he's got all these ones that are all like named after different chicks over his life or something. And he's like, fucking Lucille, man, that bike was. I was like, who's Lucille? The Panhead? What the fuck are you talking about? Yeah. But no, I get that, man. I did. I'm trying to think of one name that I did. I can't say it. I can't say the N word, but it was one of the. It was called. It was the Charlie Murphy from Dave Chappelle, the Mad.
Yeah.
I called my gold FXR that to the close homies. You know what I'm saying? But
that's I had my 16 Lowrider S. I did the black and gold on it, and obviously now gold is the thing, but a little bit ahead of the curve, I would say. But had a lot of 24 karat gold coating on the wheels and everything, and that one was Mr. T. So
that's a good one.
And
I would say Van's always ahead of the curve. Actually, he's always working on his wheels. You can fucking see him walk past a bike and just checking out the hot chick in the bar that walks by. And you're just you can watch it happening on his face and smell the hair burning, and then it's and then he starts talking I'm gonna gold plate the wheels, and you're like, whoa, bro. And then when it's all done, you're like, yeah, that was a good call. That was a good call. So, and me not being a flashy guy, I don't have the mind for that shit. So I'm kind of like, you know what? I think I'm just gonna let Van pick the shit out that I need, and I'll tune the bike and the fuel injection, and I'll spec and build the motor and all that stuff. And so that's kind of where I'm at on my own bike, but.
I mean, that's like I said, man. That's a good combination because I've always been basically you with the outside customization, and I could wrench a little bit, man. But I can't. I'm not a case splitter. I can put a top end on it and shit like that.
And that's not to take anything away from Van's mechanical ability. I mean, he knows how to fix fucking bikes, period. And cars.
There's a nerd out part of that you have to be ready for, and there's a nerd out part of staring at a bike in a chair like this. At this angle for 30 minutes,
Yeah, Matt Hodgin it back and forth in your little motorized wheelchair.
Exactly.
Well, I got more we have the artistic thing in our heads, to try to see what that is. And harp is very much a numbers. I mean, you're almost like a machinist at the heart.
I nerd the fuck out on the engine stuff, man.
You love getting into numbers.
Yeah, I had my own cylinder heads and all that stuff when we were at the dealership, and we were doing a lot of really fucking cool stuff that was, you'd start kicking these dyno sheets out onto these internet forums, and all of a sudden the phone's ringing with California numbers, it's ringing with New York phone numbers and stuff. And I mean, we were doing 150 horse pump gas 117s out of there, and guys are riding them, it's 100 and 100. If you let me put the shit together that I guarantee will work, it'll make good numbers, so there's guys out there touring with 139, 140 horse and more torque, putting pump gas in them, doing fucking wheelies.
That's a good thing though, man. I'm here to do this 131 motor, I'm into power, but not to the point where it doesn't. I like to have a good feeling bike, but I don't nerd out on it that bad.
Yeah.
I painted a bike for a buddy once we were kids. He had built a 04 Gixxer 1000, and he had the motor built and a turbo on it.
Oh boy.
And I rode that thing, and it was literally the fastest thing I've ever ridden in my life.
Fucking bet.
And I was like, that's dope. I'll die on that, 1,000%. You know, and I didn't even drink back then. If I was drinking back then, I would have died probably when I rode that.
We wouldn't be doing this right now.
You know, it's like it's insane how much how much power you can end up getting. It's like it's a good thing to have, but then like I know that for you selling that, you wanted people to want these numbers and stuff, but I just I'm like I want it to feel good.
Yeah.
But I'm not trying to play the horsepower shootout game with people. You know?
Right.
Well, and then you get going too far and you get unreliable anyway. If you push it to the max.
Yeah, and that was the thing too. Is like I definitely had a threshold where I was like, why? You know, like I had a guy who had a bagger with a Jim's 131 with a fucking Pro Charger on it, and like this custom made intercooler. It was the size of a fucking mailbox hanging off of there, and I'm like, well, you're not gonna sucker anybody into a roll on with this. You know, there's nothing incognito going on here at all. And I'm more of like a totally NA
sleeper kind of thing,
naturally aspirated guy personally, but that fucking thing was like, it was like 230 horse and 190 some foot-pounds of torque, and like I couldn't hit the e-brake on the dyno fast enough. It spooled up so fucking fast.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was that and like the Triumph Rocket 3 that I think that Todd did.
We did out at Triumph. That thing was just crazy.
It was crazy.
I call that bike the Donkey Kong, and that thing scared the crap out of me.
It was ridiculous. That's kind of for me where I hit the wall, and I'm like, okay, like why? And like a fucking Boss Hoss 502 blah blah blah. I'm like, what? Why?
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine what it would feel like to ride even a bagger at over 200 miles. That would definitely feel like some Gixxer 1000 shit.
Yeah, with stupid torque.
Yeah,
that is crazy.
I know that the motor, I mean, the bike itself is a lot heavier, so that affects Gixxer 1000 is like 450 pounds wet.
Right.
And then this bagger is 1,000 pounds damn near.
Yeah.
So
it definitely requires it to get it going, but
it's nice to have just some extra power, passing power. I mean, every Harley needs a cam as far as I'm concerned.
For sure. But that's the good thing about these M8s, man. A cam in there really wakes them up.
Right.
It's like that is the one purchase I think on an M8 motor that you feel like you get your money's worth.
Yeah, because
you know what I mean?
they do those things. Great torque, smooth power until 4,500 RPMs, and it just falls on its face stock. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, what am I riding here?
Yeah.
But as soon as you throw a cam in it, it's
that's that EPA influence, though. I mean, like the cam is that's the whole brains of the mechanical part of the engine, And I mean, you got to get these things through emissions. I mean, they fucking back in the day, like these bikes fucking barely ran. I mean, like there was like a half a drop of gas going in there, like every single time, every RPM, and
the Milwaukee-Eight definitely you don't need to do much to, and especially being in the Softail chassis, it's just fun.
Yeah, that's the thing about it, man. I think it's a great little combination because, I felt pretty good on my first newer bike was a 2012 Road Glide I got then, 2012. I was like, man, this is pretty cool. It feels good.
Right.
But before that, I had a Sportster or Nightster 1200, and that thing was pretty fucking fast for
what they are.
So light and small. You know what I mean? When I got my first Dyna, it was like a 103 or 96. And I was like, this should be fast because it's a smaller bike, and it definitely wasn't.
The 96s were just meh. The 103 definitely was a lot better.
I feel like that year of a Dyna from especially 06, which is the bastard year, but 07 till they started putting 103s in all of them, are like, bro, you can't give those things away.
Right.
They're not really worth a lot. I've had a lot of buddies have those. And they'll have like 200 miles on it, 2,000 miles on it, bad runouts. Just almost a shitty couple of years of building motors on those things.
Right.
Well, and that was where they got to the point too. The factory did where it's like and that was the disappointing part for me was that engineering wise they got a lot of stuff going for them. Mm-hmm. Relatively speaking, it is it's still in the Harley realm, but
it's a 350 engine,
but. They started getting so cheap on the production stuff, where it was like, now all of a sudden the bikes, everything on them is just like this snap together plastic caddies and all this other stuff and covers. And it's like, plastic gets, heat cycled repeatedly. It gets hot, it gets cold, and then it gets brittle. And after time, you try to take it apart and the fucking little tabs snap off, and now it's all flapping in the breeze when you're riding down the road. Now it's held together by here we are back to the zip ties.
Like the Milwaukee-Eight plastic intakes. I'm still waiting to see what comes of those in the years past.
I didn't even think about it.
It's going to be probably 10 years we start seeing problems with them, maybe.
Yep.
Kind of like the Chevy problems with their plastic intakes.
Yeah, and I've seen it on cars too. I mean, like plastic dipstick tubes, I mean, them fucking things.
The fucking things popped off.
Right.
That.
Yeah.
I can relate. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Harley's Screaming Eagle kit, they sell you a metal intake. It's like, okay, why?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
And
just cheap in production.
I totally get that, from Harley's perspective. They have to make things as, they got shareholders they're responsible for, and then, but also trying to juggle that whole make it affordable for the customer.
Yeah.
But now we're getting to the point where it's like your customer base is either no longer riding or they're riding three-wheelers for maybe a few years before they hang it up all together and go buy a fucking convertible. And then, that's the point about Harley being in trouble, that I think it's not a whole desirability of their bikes. But it is a desirability of their bikes. The younger generation coming up, they don't give a fuck about a driver's license, let alone Harley Davidson or any brand loyalty or any of that kind of stuff.
Or being American made or anything with that.
That's why I think everything's eventually going to come not crashing down, but it's going to really get back to its roots. I think it's going to be independent shops more than dealerships, personally.
I feel like, wouldn't they just, and I'm thinking they're a corporation, I'm a small business, so I feel like when things get different or slow, I scale back. You know what I mean? I scale everything back, and so I can still operate, and then scale with the times. And
you get conservative with your stuff so that you know what you're dealing with.
The motor company is arrogant, though, to say the least. They have made the money. They were, when you couldn't even get a Harley, they were just making hand over fist money, and now they just have that in their head that they're going to do it.
I would be fine for them to do that again if you really had to wait. For the part, I mean, that would create a demand, and therefore they could.
You gotta wait now.
at least the bike. I mean, in general, you're not gonna be able to force it down people's necks, and if you got to slow down and make people want it again. I know.
And I know people on the inside up there that are like, I said, so what is the deal? I said, is there just this whole, this mass panic trying to get things back on track and figure things out, or is it still the whole thumbing their nose where Harley Davidson hoity-toity bullshit, and he's like, it's a lot of the latter. And
Indian's doing it. I mean, you can say it right there. Indian went after the dirt bike guys. Corey Hart's, making Indian, trying to make Indian cool, and
everybody is.
But it's all the younger guys though that, I mean, Indian was very
Indian's
smart
also
with
paying
that.
a lot of people too.
Right.
And I mean, like I said, a lot of people aren't really brand loyal to anything,
Yeah.
And I was talking to my buddy the other night, and I was like, man, my grandfather grew up a Chevy guy. Guess what? That's what I am, dude. If I'm buying a truck or something, I don't give everything else can whatever.
Yeah.
I drive a Lexus. So
other way on that one.
It's like Pearl Harbor the other way. but no, so like I said, I fell in love with the heritage of Harley Davidson, because I fell in love with motorcycles, and then like most people that love motorcycles, back in the day before we had MySpace and shit, what did we do? We went and got books and watched old movies, Harley Davidson, the Marlboro Man, shit just what fucking biker boys, anything to feel like you were absorbing some of that motorcycle culture,
being in part of it and trying to do the cool stuff along with everybody.
But I always knew I wanted to ride because we, as kids, we had toys and shit growing up, so we had dirt bikes and go-karts and all that kind of stuff, so it's I knew one way or another someday I would end up on a motorcycle and out on the street. I didn't know in what capacity or how it was going to go, and then like I said earlier, sport bikes, and then made I don't want to call it a progression, but the choice, I guess, to get into Harleys.
I think it was more of evolvement. So this is, maybe you guys can attest to this, but I got bored with certain things in bikes, right? I would ride it, and I did wheelies, and that was fun and exhilarating. And then it got boring, or didn't get boring. I got responsible. I was like, you know what, man? I'm a painter. If I fuck my hands up, going down, breaking shit,
Yep.
I'm not gonna be able to work. I don't have like a job, you know. So then it turned into drag racing.
Then I got safe.
Safer.
Which was like stretching the bike, slamming it, which I really liked that. I mean, that was a fun time. And then then realized I couldn't afford drag racing, so but I could afford to customize it, because at the time, like, you could just repaint everything on a damn sport bike, paint the frame, make the graphics go through the frame, powder coat the wheels a different color, paint the swing arm, and bam, you got a custom bike, and everybody's sweating your nuts.
Yep.
Right.
And so that, for me, was that. And then once I fell in love with the Harley thing, it was like big wheels and fucking paint jobs. And this was the early days, so it was like kind of not, it was definitely laughable then, but it was nowhere near what it became at the end of its run, right? And just like that, I got bored with that. I felt like it wasn't inspiring anymore. People were riding choppers and Dynas across the country, and that shit looked fun to me.
Right.
Yep.
And so I evolved into that. It's like I'm looking for the fun all the time, or what's fun to me, basically.
But yeah.
I'll be honest with you, I'm fucking interested. I'm really interested in venture bikes.
Yeah.
I can't really justify buying one because it's not something that I can also do anything to that'll help me business wise.
Right.
But the enjoyment of riding, it really
It'd be
does
fun
pique my
to be
interest.
cruising down the road and then hit the dirt and come back out. And I mean, there's definitely a purpose for
I just
it.
want to be the dude that stands up on his bike all the time. Like, so,
That's an expensive way to get into that.
I'm an adventure guy.
Yeah, definitely with the progression of everything. It's just, I hated Harleys.
I did too.
I despised
So did I.
Harleys when I was younger. And now here I am. I hated PBR too, and I had both of them.
Yeah. I love both so much now.
Well, and I grew up in a house where, I mean, my dad rolled the Harley in the kitchen in the winter. Like,
Yep.
he was the biker, and I was just like, why? What are we doing with this?
Yeah.
And
a piece of shit's leaking all over
Dude, when you
mom's
put this
floor.
out there,
She's
my
gonna
friends
kill
are
us.
coming over.
right. Yeah. Here's my dad's Harley where the dining room table is supposed to be. But
Yeah.
it was a time where I was always like, I'd never be into Harley, but it's something very different about riding a Harley Davidson.
Yeah.
And I know people, say that, but there's the soul in it. It's crazy.
It's so much more to get into it now. Now's the time, man. Like, if you're fucking 20 years old, I mean, even if you got some shitty minimum wage job, it's if you can stash enough cash to at least get in the game now,
Dude,
and
you
not
can
on
find-
a fucking
Right.
piece of shit.
Oh,
You can
especially
find
here.
a decent like Dyna for $2,500 down in
Oh.
Texas. They're everywhere.
Yeah.
Right.
And-
Midwest in general.
and-
people are like, oh, bagger?
Oh yeah, in the Midwest, nobody gives a fuck about a Dyna.
Right. It's
like,
Van's
yeah.
actually, I think, the one changing the game up here. He's changing the way of thinking, and I think people are like, God damn, I never would have considered doing that to a Dyna. And now, like, I go to work, and guys are like, dude, what did it cost to get Van, his bike like that? And I'm like, well, more than you're gonna spend. I know that, but
Well, and I built the Midwest Dyna, my first one. Awful. Forward controls, burly slammers, which is the stupidest thing in the world.
Did you bob the fenders too?
No,
he
my
wide
first
glided
dyno
it.
was a fat bob, and I actually put a wide glide fender on it because the fat bob fender is horrid. But
Dude, I actually started falling in love with that duck fender.
oh boy,
It's like,
like the bobtail, early style bobtail fender.
yeah, well, I had picked up an FXR last year that had that fender on it. It was a lowrider, and they put that fender, and I kept, like we said, I sit on there, and I just look at it, I'm like, kind of fucking digging it, man.
And not hating it.
well, nothing wrong with being different anyway. I mean, everyone's into you got to have the full fender, got to have the full fender. It's like, let's rock the ugly duckbill.
Yeah. Like, even with I mean, and like I said earlier, the engineering behind the new bikes, relatively speaking, for Harley is fucking pretty solid.
Yeah.
So looking at that, I could buy a new bike and I can afford one, but goddamn, man, like, it's hard to justify that. For something that in this part of the country I'm not going to be on every day.
Yeah.
But look at you fell into your dyno with
And that's the
pure
thing too, is like, I
miracle.
mean, I had
it's
a
Midwest.
bike. A friend of mine was in a very unfortunate situation and was really strapped for some cash, and he fucking had a 2001 T-Sport, the
Damn.
fucking OG,
Just sitting
drop
there.
out of the sky and land in my
Dream bike.
lap. Yeah,
Still
right.
still had the original fairing on it.
The fucking guy didn't part it all out, and sell the triple trees and the fairing for $1,500 because you can,
I've done that.
Yeah, and I mean it was fucked up.
I picked up a flood dyno from Houston when Harvey came through, the hurricane, and picked it up for $3,000. And motor ended up having a good run out with 120,000 miles on it.
Damn, that's
You know, 'cause
solid.
They got those old what are they, Timken Baron motors or some shit
Yeah.
like that. But no, I was gonna rebuild it all. That was the goal because T-Sport is one of my, like Road Glide, T-Sport, full fairing RT, and like a dope ass shovel head.
Yeah.
All that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's the Ford that every man needs.
Yeah.
And I kind of want a Vicla right now too.
Oh, boy.
I'm not into Softails. I'm not into Softails like I want to be a Softail guy. I just want to see what it feels like to ride like an original Softail, not the good ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we shouldn't even call them Softail. We really need to just brand them something different.
I had an awesome Softail that I loved. Like, I fucked my left wrist up. I broke it 6 times and had 4 surgeries on it. I mean, like, after, I think it was like the 3rd surgery, I couldn't pull a clutch in. And a friend of mine was selling, he had the fuck was it? It was like a 94 Heritage Softail. We called it the Dirty Sanchez. It was the coolest fucking bike. Everything on that thing was cut up, man. It was just, back fender was bobbed. It was burnt orange with gold metal flake in it. And then the frame was like this graphite gray. Like, you had to actually really look at the frame to tell it was painted.
Didn't they do like CVO motor cases like that for a while?
Yeah, this was even darker than that, though.
real?
Yeah,
Okay.
it almost looks like a factory frame color, but it just was not. And then, welded together apes and no front fender, and it had a fucking 93-inch stroker kit in it, man.
Yeah,
and like
all
these
with a jockey
swoopy
shift.
pipes.
Yeah.
And it had a fucking suicide foot clutch with a tank shift, and we put a Harp Lager beer tapper up there for the shifter, and like
I ain't gonna lie, man. I dig that shit. You know what I mean?
it was choloed out. It was fucking awesome.
I dig that. So I'm not, it's weird because nowadays everything has to be all or nothing one way or the other. And I'm completely guilty of that shit and pushing that narrative. But I do, man. I have an eye for so many different types of bikes. Just,
That's what an enthusiast should be, though.
Well, you
I
have
think. Exactly.
to. I mean, you get locked in. I only do dynos. Well, there's other stuff out there.
Or even guys who are just like, fuck metric bikes and whatever, like, dude, like, I don't give a fuck what somebody rides, Do I prefer Harleys? I do, but like, dude, I fucking think the most beautiful motorcycle ever made to me personally was a Ducati, like
Which one?
the 998 Ben Bostrom.
It's a pretty solid one.
That's sexual, man. Like, first
had-
time I saw that in the window at Bob Bar Kawasaki in Madison, I was like licking the window. Like, I want it.
Well, you lick windows anyway. but-
Yeah, well, I've been doing that for a long time.
Yeah, I don't know what the sexiest bike I ever seen was. It's really tough to say. Like, if I was going to say a factory bike, the way it comes, I don't know, because everything for me is like, like say if it was talking sport bikes, I remember I was at a drag strip once and I fell in love with the 04 Gixxer 1000, like the more angular body.
Not that triangular shaped headlight.
Yeah,
the
it
one
was like
after that.
it was kind of a diamond almost.
Yep.
But this one was like stock wheelbase, just fucking tucked, dude. And the dude on it he was just getting ready to race, and I'm like in the stands watching, like, that fucking bike looks so goddamn tough, like small but bigger, because from that on the
Purpose-built.
Gixxers got smaller and smaller,
Right. Just tiny.
Yeah, but
Well, I always love the fat sport bikes. I always, the ZX7s and stuff where they look heavy, and they were, but
440
But they just-
fucking. I
look
think it was dry or something.
So no, like I did too, because I used to wheelie a lot, or try to. I mean, I knew how to get it up, but I was nowhere near balance point.
right.
I knew how to shift gears while I was like, it's coming down, but I can shift it and keep it going. But
That's ballsy, though.
but like I was like on the Gixxer 600, like a 02, and that bike is big, so when you get it up in the air and like you want to change lanes or something, you can like fucking take your thigh and just slap that tank and it'll start going to the right, and then slap it back, and then
Right.
and then I had an 06 1000, and that's when they started getting a little bit smaller, and that thing was so fucking fast, and you ripped it up, and it was like, then you try to do the tank slap thing, and it just like just fucks up the bike.
It's 2 lanes
Right.
over now.
Yeah.
Oh, twitchy too. The
Yeah.
R1s in those days were just twitchy in a wheelie. I was
Exactly.
never a big wheelie. I always have been a drag racer through and through. So I always had a lot of stretch and lowered bikes too. I had a ZX9 and stuff that I did, but one
It's
of the
funny
best.
you mentioned the 7s though. Like those are the like as a little kid,
Yeah.
when we used to have to take our pieces of shit dirt bikes up to the dealership. Like those are the bikes I
The,
drooled over.
the ZX7 was just looked like a race bike,
Right.
Yeah.
from our generation. You know,
You remember when they
just-
had like a little bit of it was mostly green and white, but it had like a little bit of blue or some purple on it. Those were the bikes that sat in the window that I just
Yeah.
man. And then of course
And
their like
the
Kawasaki
ZX7
video game came out, you know,
the
for the
7's
first
such a
Nintendo.
slow
Yeah.
turd nowadays. Like
Well, by today's standards, yeah.
Dude, I remember when my first bike I ever bought was a GX, or no, it was a Kawasaki ZX6R. Yeah, so it was, but at 2000. So, carburetors, all that shit.
Was that when they were still 600s, or did they go 636? at that
636 was
time?
like 04, 03 or something
okay.
like that.
I lose track of them in there.
So yeah, the ZX6R. So they had a ZX6 and a ZX6R. So I had the R.
Oh, I know. Yep.
And then I
Everybody
remember,
railed on them for being carbureted still.
yeah, they were.
Well, Cowie slacked on that forever. They were like
Yeah,
the last
did.
ones to get in the game.
So I remember when I picked up that bike, and I picked it up, the day I picked it up, it was snowing outside in Dallas. We never get it, but that day it was. And so I couldn't ride it. I had this fucking machine downstairs I wanted to ride, and I didn't know how to ride either, because I didn't grow up on dirt bikes, you know what I mean? So I went at the time we had Blockbuster still.
Oh yeah.
And I rented, and I've always been a gamer. I rented Road Rash. Y'all remember that?
Oh yeah.
I just wanted to do something biker, man.
Anything.
Anything.
Those are the good days of video games.
Yeah. Get me a chain and take it from this guy and beat his ass with it down the road.
Yeah. Nowadays, some of that shit's not that far off of reality.
Yeah, exactly.
That was the thing too. That was like my goal for a little while. Was I working at the dealership. I mean, I think that we all got some like degree of rebel in us, that's why we ride that's why we ride, I think.
Yeah.
But man, I was at the dealership and I was like, I just get so tired of dealing with these fucking just demanding, insane people, like fucking legit insane. I mean, you'd pull their bike around and park it, and they would come running from the other side of the parking lot with their finger pointing at their bike going, "You scratched my bike." It's like, Jesus Christ, it's been rusting under the paint for like years. Look how festered up it is and shit,
Yeah.
Like, you did it, I don't care. And well, I was like,
Oh,
holy
yeah.
fuck.
Well, that's that dealership life. It's
They
interesting.
I got so tired of the like crybaby bullshit that I was like, you know what? I'm fucking gonna take this back to the '60s and I'm gonna give bikers a bad name again. Like I'm gonna make bikers people to be afraid of now.
Yeah, that part, being, on our podcast, like we've always kind of more or less complained about the things that we have to deal with in shops like yourself and myself and many other ones, the nightmare customer shit that people deal with. And it's like anything. We probably go towards the customers that were shitty to talk about before the customers that really change our lives.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
People you become friends with outside of work.
for sure.
Yeah.
And it just sucks, man. But dude, that shit can have you just like, how can you ride a bike and be that fucking cunty?
Right.
Just straight
You're
up.
not a
Yeah.
real, like, are you, is this like, what the fuck, dude? Why are you doing?
Yeah.
Why are you on a bike, dude?
Right. Yeah. There's no.
Don't you go
no
be
excuse
a
for it.
Karen somewhere else, man?
Yeah, and that's
Go
what
buy your
it is.
Cadillac and complain to them.
Yeah, just the fucking like unreasonable, demanding fucking bullshit. Like it was 08, right? Actually, it was late 07. So like the 100th anniversary or 105th anniversary bikes just came out. Had a guy with this is before the fuel filter shell recall that they had, and I had one that was busted wide open. I don't even have service manuals to be working on this
Yeah.
bike. It's a whole different canopy to get into the fuel tank. The tank is different. Everything's
Yeah, that
different.
was a new tank, right?
Yeah,
It was like
first year of the 6 gallon.
It was like it wasn't the Circle, was it?
Yeah,
It was.
That was
but
the first year of that.
I'm trying to remember because there was, we used to do the stretch tanks. There was certain ones that were kind of like different shit on the inside.
Oh,
and the deal.
yeah. Some of them like stuff would clip onto like the tunnel of it, and then the baggers it would like drop in from the top. and
Yeah.
it was all different, but it was shit that we'd never seen before. And I got a guy whose bike won't run, and he's on the phone and he's bitching at me. I go, dude, I don't build these bikes in the back room, okay?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't design the shit, or I just fix them. And if you want to keep being a dick, I'll just tell you that I don't even have a service manual to work on your bike. So if you want me to make you wait, no, this is like this is like late August, early September. So I mean, like, he's fucking had this bike for a week. And I said, if you want, I can make you wait until like January when I get the service manual to work on it, and then theoretically be qualified. But I said, I'm just going on what I know as a mechanic.
Yeah.
And he says, well, I feel like I should be compensated for being without my bike. And I go, what is it you think you're entitled to? Like, you want a fucking Harley pool table or a jukebox or something? Like, what do you want me to fucking do?
They probably make it.
You know, I said, I called the factory. They're pulling a whole fuel pump assembly off the line and shipping it here. And then the whole thing turned out to be a recall down the road anyway. But it was stuff like that. And it just got to be, you know, like the scales started to tip where it was more of that, you know, and less people who are just appreciative that you fixed their bike or that you're even looking at it, you know, and it just got to be more bitching. And I got into the Harley dealership like 04, I think. And man, people were just, for the most part, they were awesome. They were happy to get their bikes in, happy to get them serviced, happy to get them fixed.
I mean, think about it. That was like after the Harley shortage, basically.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, so people were more appreciative of the time they had to wait to get it originally.
Right.
Absolutely.
So they naturally had more patience to deal with things with the bike.
Just excited, and
You know?
Well, and then it comes with the high price tag of Harleys, though, too. I mean, you're paying $50,000 for your CVO. You think that you're entitled to ride it no matter what happens to it. I mean, but
They think it's like the Lexus or Cadillac or Mercedes dealership where there's
like-
going to be this loaner car that comes out.
it doesn't happen that way.
And it's going to be upgraded from what you have.
Yeah, so they'll hopefully,
We had a guy, one of our service managers who had come and gone in that place at the time. He was a service writer at a dealership that sold Cadillac, and he comes in and I'm like, I'm telling you, man, get ready. And he's like, there's no way these people are worse than Cadillac owners. There's no way. And I swear to you, he ate a shit sandwich over that, because he comes out of the office, he's like, you're absolutely right. These fucking people are insane.
That's just crazy to even think, man. These chairs they either go too far back or not.
Well, it's hard though too, because we're in the Midwest in Wisconsin where you get 3-4 months of great riding. You know, so people are
And their bikes are fucking up during that time because
then
they
they're
finally
pissed.
ride them.
Yeah. Where I mean, Texas, you guys pretty much year
Ride
round
over it,
until it's too hot or
Yeah, we actually have to stop because of the heat.
So
Yeah, you guys have a different winter period.
I would
than we
say
do.
that I wouldn't generalize every Harley person
No.
like that around the country,
No.
because I mean, you think that there's more laid back people than that, but
Yeah.
I
But
get
I
the
think-
panic, but
I think that it really has, like, that's, I think, part of the demographic, and that just like kind of spoiled, I want everything right now. Like, I mean, look, you can fucking get Amazon. I mean, you no sooner add the shit to cart and it's on your front porch.
Right.
And that's great and all, but it's like really kind of, I think, spoiled us as a society.
Yeah.
Where we sometimes forget there's a human being spending time, you know, to fix this, to diagnose it, to look at it. And, you know, that shit just, it takes time sometimes. And it's unfortunate. I want it to go faster too. It's just, I can't.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's the time that you're selling, basically, to as a business. I mean, that's what we're putting price tags on.
Right.
I'm the same way, because like I ship all my helmets when I do them out of UPS, and the ladies that work there are the best. Like, I have a great relationship with them because I see them so much, and I always fuck with them because, like, sooner or later you're gonna have to get on the Amazon program. You know, I need deliveries on Sunday. I need, you know, everything working. You know,
Right.
and part of me
brown drones flying around.
exactly. But it sucks, man, because that's what it is going to. Is like everybody wants it now, and you know, building bikes, it makes it hard for people to build quality bikes. You know,
Right.
because or even cars, like we were just saying earlier. It's like, you know how long it takes to build a car, like legit, like take an old school car and customize it.
Right.
Yeah. I don't have Chip Foose in my back pocket and a camera crew.
Well, you
know,
get to really, as a painter, and you know, my one buddy that does most of my painting out of his garage, nobody understands what you guys have to go through to get to the finished product.
Dude,
like,
no shit, I feel
especially
for you
when you
guys.
start. I mean, okay, black is black, but
Yeah.
holy Christ, is there prep work? And my dad's actually was a body man, so I grew up
Yeah, exactly.
seeing that too, and it's like,
You know, I don't want to woe is me, but you know,
do
might
it.
as well.
Fucking do it. Did you hear me a second ago?
Yeah. No, it's definitely got its set of challenges, but it has, you know, when it comes to the painting, it's a patience game, and the more patience you have during the process, the more you adhere to the process, and things don't go as bad, but then you get pressures of deadlines. There's a lot of things that you don't start today because I can't stop until 6 hours and it's already 3 p.m.
Right.
And I got to be home for dinner with wife, kids, things like that. So there's things like that take place. Like I'll go to work one day, like, all right, 10 o'clock, I'm going to get in there, I'm going to flake this bike out. Well, that process to get it in the booth, get it cleaned up, get it all situated so I can spray it, make sure my guns are clean, get the paint mixed, go the first coat with sealer coat, let it flash, then do your base coat, then your flake, and then your clear coat. That's an entire day.
Right.
So if I come in the morning and I have a bunch of shit
But
happening.
I want to ride it tonight.
If I come in at, when I get to work and I come in and then like this happens and now this phone call, now this guy wants to spend an hour on the phone talking about his ideas and then this and then that. Next thing you know, it's 2 o'clock and there's no way I can start this process today. Now I'm 1 day behind.
Yep.
Wow.
And that 1 day behind on this project is now 1 day behind on the other 8 projects.
Yep, right.
And then those things start to compile and add up.
And then the only thing you can do after that too, and it snowballs exactly like you're saying, is the only place where you can find time is either take it from your family or take it from your sleep.
Exactly.
And I just had this conversation with my uncle the other day. He said he was in the Marines. He goes, they demanded it and I liked it. And then before you know it, fucking 18 years goes by, your wife hates you, your kids don't know who you are, and then you're like, holy shit, what happened? And I don't want that to be the case.
No, for a man though, like working is the easiest job we have.
Yeah. That's true.
If you like it, yeah.
Well, I mean, just it's the most laid out. Like, what you have to do.
Right.
When it comes to your wife, you got to figure out how to fucking deal with that.
Oh no, yeah, that's
when it comes to your kids. It's like, well, you can't really be as the parent that your parents were because you didn't grow up with the internet.
Because I'm all fucked up.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like the only thing in our life that is pretty laid out and that we know how to do really well if you're an actual hard worker is work.
Right.
And so that becomes the easiest thing for a man to do, other than like dealing with, trying to make love instead of just fucking, just kind of crazy shit.
It is. It is way easier to just go to work. I mean, we just welcomed our new baby girl in.
Uh-huh.
And I have a 3.5, well, almost 4-year-old son too. And I go, was it this much work back then too?
Yeah.
Like, and the women, when they have to get in there and do the job, they do it, and it's like,
Yeah, we're workaholics,
Yeah.
So all that does is just like compound the problem,
Right.
Because like, it's not that I don't like being, I got an 8-month-old daughter, and like I love being home with my family. I do. But I'm not gonna lie. There's times I'm sitting there spending time with the family, and I'm working through work shit in my head. I'm thinking bike stuff. I'm thinking like my head's somewhere else. I mean, I might be snuggling and smooching and all that stuff, but I'm back of my head. I'm thinking, God damn it, why doesn't that bike idle right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta go order these parts and get this bike done, and that's
For me. I had to really cut it back because like when I bought the dyno and between the two of us, I mean, it's fucking getting pretty busy.
Yeah.
And it's like I find that on my days off from my regular job, I'm taking my, those are days I'm supposed to be spending with my kid. Those are days I want to spend with my kid. And I'm taking her to the fucking babysitter so I can go tune bikes. And I'm like, man, I got to find a balance here. And that's where I'm at right now.
One thing I did find out, and I found this out not by experience of doing it right, but doing it wrong and talking to people that did it right. We all tend to use our cell phone as our business. If you just get a business phone and when they call you at 7 p.m. and you close at 6, they get the hint.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I have a business phone, but there's so many avenues for people to get a hold of you now.
Yeah.
And I actually was just kind of in a little meltdown recently, like with my daughter being born, and just obviously I know motorcycles in Wisconsin, I'm going to be busy through the summer. My summers are over. I'm not,
not getting a chance.
It is what it is, but I was having a little meltdown, like, because people can get email, text, Facebook Messenger, all that, and I'm just like, I need Sundays to I'm not replying to anybody. Like, you got to get, I need a break. So
I think that people now understand, because I know a couple shops that have like there's a way to do an automatic response on like Instagram,
Right.
so that it, people know like we check these through this time and this time, and I like it on mine too, because if I don't follow that person, then it goes into a request message,
Right.
which allows me to not have it say read. So that they're like question mark the next hour later,
Right.
Which pisses me off. But I get it. The thing is that because so many other things in the world are instantaneous,
Right.
It's just out of sight, out of mind for so many customers to think that, and so many people think that we're all like when you're self-employed, that you're just scratching at the wall for opportunity, and in some cases you might be,
Right.
but there's also like this. Like our economy has been really good, and I think most shops that do quality work are not struggling to have work.
Right.
Therefore, we don't have to bend over backwards for opportunities that, in a sense, they kind of need us more than we need them sometimes.
Right.
Or
Yeah.
you can go to the dealership.
Exactly. And get in line at there. So, you try to please everybody, but it's definitely strenuous. Especially, I pretty much, I'm basically a one-man show with what I do. So I've got to do the parts order. I got to do the invoicing. I got to do, it's so crazy, and it takes up so much time that I'm working 12, 14 hours a day but
it feels good to put that kind of hours in when it's for yourself.
Right. And that's a bonus, because at the dealership I would have been working 6 days a week, staying an hour early or hour late here and there, and it's like all just to pad the pockets of somebody else. And it's like, at least I have the fulfillment of knowing that it's in my own terms of what
it's like you're building your own house, basically.
Right.
Not customizing your rent house.
Yeah, I never understood really how much the industry was built on just sheer passion. And that's why, but
all of it.
I got to, after a long time though, it just got to the point for me where I was like, fucking passion ain't paying my bills anymore, and that's how I got, it's funny, I had to go out of the industry to be able to afford to work in the industry. That's kind of fucked up.
You had your moment where you were spent.
I was, man. I was just cashed.
You didn't even own a motorcycle.
Nope, I didn't.
Which was weird.
For a little while there. Fuck, I had 4 bikes at one time, and I started I pedaled all of them off. I was done. I was like, fuck, I don't even want to hear a bike running when I walk out the door.
When you get so ingrained into working on bikes, and you have a lot of bad experiences with customers, and I can see how dealerships could play into that. Like the customers in the dealerships are very demanding, and like you already stated earlier, that can really make you, seeing a bike brings back those anxieties and shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
oh, for sure.
So but like I said, finding ways to reignite the passion, is one thing. It's tough, man. I deal with it. Everybody deals with it.
I think it's a balance thing. Some of the worst advice I was ever given was like, if you got a hobby and something you really are passionate about, you should make that your career. I'm like, don't do that.
Yeah.
Do not fucking do that, because you will end up hating your career and hating your passion and your hobby, and you'll be pissed off all the time, because there's this line that you got to walk where you need these people, but they're just like, it's this vicious circle, but they're killing you, at the same time.
I got that way in the car industry. It was just I loved cars. I always went to the drag strip, all that, and then working on them all day, I'm like, no, I'm done. But luckily for me, the motorcycle industry is not like that to me. I get engulfed in it for sure, but I don't.
It's nice to see you though, making the money now. Fuck, after and this isn't an indictment of my former employer, but it's like, fuck, I was making $18.50 an hour after almost 13 years. And I was doing shit, not to toot my own horn, but it's like I was doing shit that nobody was doing out there.
Which you could have, how much would you have made if you had your own machine shop doing your engine work?
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is it was really to the point where it's like I bought a tire machine, I bought a balancer, I started making my own specialty tools and stuff. I was getting ready to pull the trigger.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm doing this, man. I'm going to go out and on my own. And had been very lucky and managed to get my job that I'm at currently, where it's like I make good money, my schedule's really good, so that it's conducive to being able to work at the shop and tune bikes and run the dyno and do that kind of stuff.
It's balance, man. It's
really
like you said, it's balance. And I think that when we were all young, we we learn how to do a lot of things, right? And that feels good to know that you can do so many aspects of a bike build, right? But then when it boils down to it, the people that make the most money in every field are the people that specialize in something in their field, right? So when you are a machinist or when you're known as the best fucking dyno tuner there is, it's way easier to get better money for being a dyno tuner because you focused all your energy to be the best at that one thing.
Yeah. And I'm, for the record, not the world's best dyno tuner. I mean, I can tune bikes, and I definitely have made certainly a good reputation. I haven't hit everything out of the park, but I try to learn. But it's just the one thing.
Now you're learning Milwaukee-Eight.
Yeah, definitely different, man. All the ECM protocols are just way fucking different. But for me, the most important thing for me with the dyno is that it's like, it doesn't matter if you have a bone stock bike or you got some fucking fire breathing 150, 60, 80 horsepower thing, it's like, you want it to run good. Period. Nobody's going to have fun riding down the road with their shit bucking and snorting and coughing. Yeah,
technically you're offering a necessity, and maybe customizing a bike and definitely painting a bike is definitely a luxury.
Right.
So
yeah, and that's not to like juxtapose the two against each other and be like, my shit's, my service is worth more than yours. But it's one of those things where it's like,
smooth.
Yeah, I think everybody can get behind the idea of having their bike run good. So
yeah, agreed. So what is basically Vex Cycles? How did this come together?
It was kind of almost just forced.
Through criminals.
Yeah, under some poor management of our previous dealership. Dealership went under, and it was like, okay, what am I going to do? And now, mind you, most Harley technicians, I feel like, moonlight in their garage anyway.
Yeah.
So I was doing it, mainly all my friends' bikes and stuff like that in my garage as it was. And I just kind of was like, man, do I go get a job at another dealership? But obviously I'm going to have to travel, so then it's going to take time. I'm like, well, let's give her a go, because either way I'm going to have to try to get a job if it doesn't work. So
you're already killing yourself 6 days a week at the dealership. You might as well go do it for yourself.
So I just kind of jumped in both feet, and so far I've been super blessed to be busy. And I mean, it might work to my advantage that the local dealership closed, so now I have that whole kind of clientele that already knew me as a technician anyway, but tons of new people that I've met. And now I pushed big on Instagram when I had like my Mr. T bike and stuff. The whole performance aspect of the Harley obviously just excited me. I'm a performance guy. I want to go fast, I want to hit corners, I want to do this, that, so being in that aspect. And I got big on Instagram with my first dyna, and then now it's just, with Instagram, I've reached out to just meet all kinds of cool, awesome people in the industry, and it's just, all like-minded people.
So is the basis of the shop more like carrying on what you guys were doing in the dealership as far as maintaining, upgrading, servicing, and then the customizing is something that probably gets... You don't see a whole lot of bikes customized out of a dealership.
Right, exactly. I've gotten definitely to expand my wings like I wanted to, being on my own. It's still a day-to-day shop and do the standard services, all that, and obviously we do a lot of the performance with doing some different cam work and all that, and hard tuning them in on the dyno. And but now I get to, kind of push that boundary of trying to build some stuff. That's it. I had a dyno lowrider, a 17, the Patriot, that I just recently had, but then I was like,
fucking panty dropper is what it was. That bike was awesome.
That was the anti-dyna because it was all chrome.
Boxer dropper.
I was like, man, I'm tired of all these damn black dynas, so that's how I just went chromed out in a little Patriot theme. But I was like, man, I should get, and I called you from the Dells. I literally was driving up to vacation with my wife or whatever, and we stopped at the dealership, and I saw the lowrider S. I'm like,
vacation, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm the same way, dude.
Well, it was technically her work thing
Yeah.
that we were going for, and it was my vacation. But saw the lowriders. I called him. I'm like, dude, do we need to just get into the Milwaukee-Eights more in the shop too, just to try to be,
shot for it here.
right? And that's it. Nobody was doing much with the lowrider S right away. I mean, people liked them, but so
that's kind of why I wanted to have you guys on, because like I said, you guys came in my radar just now too,
Right.
with Tommy and stuff like that. But I'm trying to push the gospel of performance motorcycles. You know what I
Right.
mean, across
Definitely.
the country.
You're doing
So
the Lord's work.
yeah, I'm trying to do the Lord's work out here, man. So my thing is, I want to help push the brands like yours in these areas, so that people that listen to this podcast, which fortunately for us is pretty vast all over the country,
Right.
can have these hubs of shops that are
They know where to go.
like-minded. Yeah. And of course I can't attest to y'all's actual work. I'm
Right.
just you seem like a trustworthy guy, dude.
I read a sales brochure before I came in.
not wearing a gold chain trying to sell a bike.
Yeah.
No, and it is. I actually had a customer just recently get a hold of me just off of my Instagram. He's like, "Man, you guys are into the performance stuff," and I'm like, "Yeah, I want you to work on my bike." And he's he's an hour and a half away. He doesn't need to come to me.
Exactly.
He could go anywhere. But I mean, I've always been West Coast inspired. We'll call it.
We all are.
Yeah, if you like that stuff. I mean, I'm into lowriders. I'm into drag racing, all that stuff. And I've got a lowered 4x4 truck for
It's hard not
Christ's
to be
sake,
into anything motorsports or automotive motorcycles and not have some kind of flavor from California.
Right.
But
well,
a
and
lot
if
of
you want to be
influence
up
out there.
you
Yeah.
got to be on that though. That's
where the money's at.
They're starting the trends. That's just how it is. And
See, when I was growing up and starting to like paint out there, I would go out there and meet painters and builders and fabricators that were famous out there.
right.
And then I'd meet them and talk to them, famous for our industry. And I'd be like, man, like, you don't seem like, where are you from? Oh, I'm from Kansas. And so like there's this like influx of all these people. I mean, of course California is like a state where people go to for opportunity, and that's kind of what
Used
seems
to.
to happen. Yeah, used to.
now
Now
they're fleeing.
Yeah.
Trying to turn Texas into Cali.
oh, they're trying. But
I'll go to Texas to stop that shit from happening.
y'all are more Texas than some of the Texans right now. But that's the thing, is I'd be out there and I'd be like, man, like I didn't know you were from fucking Cal or Texas. And it's like, the more and more I realized there was so many people that would take their talents from these areas where they couldn't really blossom and take it to California, where they could get the opportunities to show the world what they're capable of.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Car scene, truck scene, boat scene.
Right.
Dude, it's a lot of
Everything like
different
that.
things.
Yeah. And you are. I mean, I'm not trying to be just a performance shop by any means, because I would never make it. There's not enough
Yeah.
want. Sure, I have a group of buddies that are all into it, but you got to get the customers
Dude,
too.
the thing about that group of buddies is like they spawn.
Right. They do.
If you get water on them, they're like gremlins, dude.
That's probably more accurate.
It's pretty much true too with our group, but
Dude, all you got to do is, I mean, to me, I think the best way to build the scenes is to just give these people a place to come and mingle. Whether it's a little hangout at the shop or finding a local bar. You don't have to be a bike night like Harley does, or like these big places where it has to be this like massive show. It's like, no, man,
Right.
we're just some like-minded dudes. We're gonna go on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, whatever. Just go here and sit on a patio, drink a little beer, and talk about our bikes.
Right.
And dude, in Dallas, we would even do that shit when it's snowing. It's just like, hey, man, we're gonna drive tonight.
Right.
And hanging out, it just kind of makes us stay in the mindset of, hell yeah, this shit's dope. You know what I mean?
Well, and getting it. Not everybody's as internet savvy either. I mean,
True,
not
yeah.
everybody's on Instagram going, "Oh man, look at these latest bikes from the West Coast." Bringing it into these different areas. I mean, when we roll down the street with a handful of us, I'm sure people are like, "What are
I just
those?"
see that guy on the back wheel. Holy fuck.
Right. Or what?
I've never seen so many vans in my life.
What are those all T-bars? Like,
Why are they
Like I
wearing
said,
socks
like,
in 20-degree weather?
fucking-
Tall socks.
Broke ass white trash Midwestern unknown ride.
yeah.
I'm trying to get Texas to adopt the mid. We're kind of in a shitty spot, right? We're not really south.
Right.
Because south, I think of like, I don't even think of Louisiana south. I think of like Mississippi,
South.
Right. The deep
that south. And then we're not technically southwest like
Arizona,
New
Yeah.
Mexico, that shit. But for some reason, the Midwest stops in Oklahoma, which is right there. I can hit a golf ball to that motherfucker.
Right.
And, we're just kind of like stuck, kind of not identifying
Texas
with anybody.
Texas is it's just
We're a they.
I love Texas though. Like my ex-wife is from Texas.
That's a good reason to
Yeah,
love it.
there's a whole song about it even. But yeah, dude, I love that state, man. I love the people down there. Everybody's super friendly and just accommodating and Southern hospitality. It's a fucking thing, man. It's real. It's a real thing. And
I feel like people are nice as fuck up here too. You got that
Depends
little,
on the day.
you got
Yeah,
that
it does.
Canadian kind of friendliness. Hey?
That's further up north.
Yeah.
Further Wisconsin.
I don't know. I ran into somebody one time from North Carolina out in Sturgis that was just like, "You from Minnesota?" I was like,
Dude,
and then I heard
they
myself talk.
are
I was
country.
like, "Fuck." I was
Yeah.
like,
Right.
maybe I could be.
The first time I went to North Carolina, like I didn't know what to expect. I'd never been East Coast. And I went out there and I started hanging out with everybody and it's like, man, y'all are country as fuck, dude.
Yeah.
And
They're
Texas.
expecting Texas to be there.
Yeah, I'm supposed to be that. I know I have probably a Texas sound to me, but dude, these dudes are twangy as fuck,
yeah.
man.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, this is real redneck shit over here.
Out in Sturgis, I was friends with a lot of people from all over the country, I would say. And it was funny because this crew that I used to run around with, we got backstage at a concert and we're out at the Buffalo Chip. It was like Velvet Revolver was playing, and
Did they have like some of Pantera's members in that? Wasn't like Vinnie Paul was a drummer or some shit?
might have been. I don't remember.
I don't
know.
remember either.
Yeah, if obviously Scott Weiland, who's he gone, but we're backstage.
Didn't
and
he get shot up here? Or no, Dimebag got shot up here, didn't he?
Yeah, Dimebag got peeled in where the hell was it? I don't think it was Wisconsin.
Minnesota?
Wasn't it Iowa or something I don't remember.
I don't remember.
Or
Yeah.
Ohio. I think it was Ohio. I just watched a thing on TV about it,
Yeah.
coincidentally, but
You had time for that?
fuck, I get like 20 minutes of solid TV time with the wife, and then it's bedtime. But yeah, I mean, we were backstage, and there's people coming up to us and whatever, and there's like, oh hey, whatever. And so I was a total dick to this one dude, and he had these fucking banging hot chicks with him, and I was like, I don't know who the fuck that guy was, comes up to me, shakes my hand and shit. And then this is in the MySpace days, so I'll tell you how long ago this was.
Tequila walked up, huh?
Might have been, I don't fucking know. And then I see these friends of mine from North Carolina are like, hey, here's us with Dale Earnhardt Jr. And I was all like, that was fucking Dale Earnhardt Jr. I was a total cock to that guy. He like comes up and introduces himself. It's like, hey, it's like, holy shit.
That's fitting.
Yeah. And then, but yeah, from North Carolina, man, they're just like, they are, but so friendly.
Dude, they are some NASCAR fucking fiends out there,
Fucking
dude.
all about
They
it.
used to be.
Oh, I guess so.
NASCAR started
They
chiming
woke
in too. Yeah.
NASCAR got woke.
Yeah, they got that all fucked up. I could never get into NASCAR, but it's like I didn't. They fucking knew who Dale Earnhardt Jr. was. Like I wouldn't know this dude if he fucking gave me a lap dance at a gay bar. Like I fucking have no clue.
Right.
So, but yeah, it was. Yeah, I do need to get out to the East Coast though.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking about leaving here. I'm going to take the ferry across to Michigan Wednesday. Mm-hmm. And my goal was to maybe go to the Indian Larry block party, but I'm having second thoughts about doing it, I haven't been to New York yet. This is the first time I've ever been up here. Illinois, all that shit. Illinois.
Illinois.
I keep fucking that up.
Illinois.
And so all this is new to me, but
Right.
like I don't really want to go. I want to go to this block party so fucking bad, but I don't want to see New York like
The way that it is.
like I don't.
I don't know. Are they even going to let you in? Don't they have like a quarantine from out of state? Or
They said
something
that
right
there was
now?
signs on that for in Chicago saying if you're from out of state you need a quarantine for 14
Yeah,
days.
Chicago's special.
Yeah.
You just assume that we can all afford to just find a place to hide for 14 days as we
Right.
travel here.
Right.
Yeah, I think that fucking it's probably
Overreach.
more like Escape from New York right now with fucking Snake Plissken.
Hell yeah.
People are leaving
than
New York
people
too.
heading in. There's probably more heading out.
Right.
Although the Indian Larry block party would be pretty fucking rad.
Well, it's just I've never been out there, and I want to see the city. meet some more people out there and stuff. But fuck, man, I don't know.
I don't think you can even enjoy it right now, though.
That's what I'm worried about.
Going on. I don't know. I mean, just speaking of just watching whatever you see on the news, but
yeah. I definitely hope that everything kind of evolves back to normal-ish next year.
In November, it should, somewhere close to that, right?
I think it's going to get worse no matter which way it goes.
I said that same thing. I think everybody has seen, whether, regardless of what side you're on, I think everybody's seen too much from the other side to forget anytime soon.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if, how justified you think you are on either side. I think both sides are just like, oh no, fuck that. I don't care how normal they start acting. Like, I can't forget the shit that I did see out of them.
Right.
And
yeah.
It's going to be, it's going to be a crazy, crazy world for at least a decade, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say, though, if there's anything good coming out of all this craziness, is people are finding family and stuff again, though.
That's good, yeah.
I mean, I know people talking about, at Drag Specialties and Parts Limited and them, they're just crazy sales. And I mean, I have a pit bike, too.
Yeah.
You got to, give blood to get a pit bike or even parts right now.
110s are like fucking hotter.
Right. But people are getting back into, let's go out in the woods, let's go camping, because you can't do anything, which is actually almost a bonus to not, you can't go to the concerts and crap like that. It's like,
I see families walking down the sidewalk in front of my, around my house all the time. And I'm like, it's good.
Which you didn't see.
thing.
I mean, everyone's so engulfed with the internet and all that crap, and I almost feel like, well, it's done hard. I don't know how busy you are, but people don't have money. They have the money to spend on their toys now instead of going to the concerts and all that. So,
True.
people want to do.
They're not spending as much money on entertainment.
Right.
So, yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. So, and hopefully we do get back to a little more family-oriented stuff. And then hopefully the pit bike craze and all that stuff, we get a whole generation of new riders coming too.
True. That's a good point.
Yeah. Harley should make a pit bike, maybe.
What's up with that? They had that Pan America or whatever.
Yeah.
Is that thing a fucking thing now or what?
It's a go. Yeah.
Is it a go?
Yeah.
They're not getting rid of that. They're putting a lot behind that. And
well, there you go. You can go.
Huh?
You can get one of them and go.
It's a sticker on that bitch.
Probably a lot, but I don't know, man. I've said this a lot on the podcast, but the adventure bike market and scene is very. You're coming into it very, very late. It's like,
oh yeah,
it's like, you know what I mean? Like it's going to be really hard to build the kind of network that BMW and KTM and Honda has built across the planet.
And Husky, they got it locked.
Yeah.
Those brands got it on lock.
I've made this exact statement a lot, but think about it. Like when you think of like Harley Davidson in Brazil, do you think carrying knob tires for the dirt, or do you think like a place to buy a T-shirt that says Brazil?
Right.
So they might have like kiosks all over the world, but if you're on a BMW, you pretty much are within reach of some type of dealership or some type of network, so that if you're traveling, international on a bike, then you have ability to get a frame replaced or a fucking all these different things. And Harley, they would have to. It's such a different bike than their current model.
Right.
And BMW riders too, man. I swear every one of them's got a Rolodex of fucking houses they can stop at all over the world.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you're on a BMW, come on in. Here's my wife. Here's my kids. Here's your bedroom.
Nobody's worried about like a dude on a BMW.
Is Harley marketing that towards overseas market, or are they going to try to push that so hard here? It's like
I think that they might have saw like not a resurgence, but I think what they might have saw was like a lot of their age group riders going to the adventure market and thought, well, hell, they have money to spend a $30,000 bike, so let me make one so that the ones that have road glides that now want to evolve, because that's kind of the evolution in some of us.
Right.
It's like, Dyna or sport bike or Dyna, whichever generation you're from, and then you get to the bagger, and then after, I've been on a bagger for almost 10 years now. So the idea of an adventure bike is kind of appealing because it's something new.
Right.
And you can only ride down a fucking straight lane road, and you can only take so many twisties and you hit so many fucking curves and whatever before you're like, dude, that was how I got into like, not that I was any kind of fucking stunt rider, but it's like, I was turning heads in Janesville because I was drifting my bagger through intersections,
Yeah.
And people were like, holy fuck, what was that, And it was like, you know, and then doing like rollers and, you know, stuff like that. People were like, dude, and I'm like, I'm fucking tired of just riding down the road.
Right.
Yeah,
you know, and it's
exactly.
like you can only break the speed limit so far.
The adventure bike's probably not going to be like a Harley though, where you can customize it and make it your. I mean, obviously you can do paint and stuff. It just adventure bike is very purposeful. So like, not.
I worry though that Harley's going to do what they almost always do, which is they're going to see a market and then they're going to get into it and they're going to be underperforming and overpriced, and then
that's definitely going to happen. But it's also the thing that I think that maybe they forgot that it takes time to build a demand to build your presence in something. And I don't know if they're going to be willing to spend the money and the time it's going to take. I would say 5 to 10 years to build a presence in that bike market.
Yeah, but they
didn't have the patience with the Buell,
right?
You know,
they hamstrung the Buell so bad though. I mean, like if they would have fucking Eric Buell's a brilliant dude.
Yeah,
he really is, man, and he don't get enough credit out there in the design realm and engineering realm. But you know, they just kept, you know, fucking give him some money and let him go. If you guys are serious about that market, stop giving him that fucking Sportster motor, which the guy really did. When you look at the XB line, I mean, he did amazing things with that motor. I mean, it was still a fucking shitty push rod, 45 degree air cooled 2-valve per cylinder engine.
Yep.
I mean, with the things that guy was able to do with it was really impressive. But you know, he always wanted, to my understanding anyway, is that he always wanted that Rotax engine to actually get somewhere and be competitive. But I just worry that
hopefully Harley sees something with their adventure bike. I feel like that.
I just worry that they're going to be all cheap and shitty like the street though.
But that market's so, I feel like it's even smaller than like if they were going after the Dyna Bros right now. I mean, if you did
well, the adventure market's fucking huge, bro.
Isn't that big though?
It is, yeah.
And then this is me talking out of just my area.
I would say the biggest market is probably. We need like a young Jamie here with like statistics and shit.
Right.
Pull that shit up, Jamie.
The adventure market is pretty big. It's definitely bigger than the Dyna Bro market, right? But I would think that Harley's the biggest market could possibly be the just the normal dudes that ride Harley's market. You know what I mean? Like the typical guy getting his oil changed at the dealership and storing his bike down there for the winter. Like it's, you know, maybe saves up for a Kuryakin part or some shit like that. You know what I mean? Like that's really the majority of bikes you see everywhere.
Right. Well, and I will commend Harley for the electric glide being back.
Yeah.
Standard. I mean, everybody wants a damn radio, but
no, they don't.
I didn't.
Some people
so everybody that bike shook up the game, man. If they would have did a road glide like that, because the thing is that the performance bagger thing, like I give 2 fucks about that radio on my bike. I never listen to it because I wear a helmet. I can't hear it.
Right. Well, that's our generation though. But
exactly. But
I took mine out so I had a place to keep my gun.
There you go. So if they did the road glide that way, which is the bike that's kind of the performance bagger bike that people want,
right?
Then you kind of have the fairing. You have the what we want the fairing for, like the wind protection and things like that.
Right. And that's a true.
And then
statement.
you can keep all that other shit at the dealership and just give me like some cubbyhole space.
Right. Yeah, like a top bike road.
They were
glide.
thinking with that for sure, and even the Softail standard. Everyone's like, "Oh, that thing's so damn ugly." I go, but it's, well, of course, I'm already looking at what I can do to it. It's like, but it's cheap, affordable, and you just can do whatever you want.
Yeah, if you're gonna buy rims, then buy that. That way you're not like. I mean, it's kind of nice to buy a Lowrider S and then put rims on it. You have some nice wheels that you can probably sell for a little bit of money, but then again, you're probably paying more on the note than you would be getting back if you sold the wheels. So it's like, might as well just get the one that doesn't have
definitely a give or take for sure. Yeah. I don't know. I thought that Harley definitely did a good job with that, but a Road Glide would be a win for sure.
Or a Road King too.
Right. Yeah,
it's like a stripped down Road King with some fucking a 16-inch rear wheel.
Right.
Yep.
And that would be super affordable too.
Get like $16,000 or $15,000 for a Milwaukee-Eight Road King.
Right.
Fuck yeah.
Just ready to go.
But still, even that though, I mean, it's like you can pick up an
user
early 2000s, you know, or I mean, even like you know, what 08
I just
or
built
09. I mean, when they started getting the after that chassis.
Yeah, but even I just built Papa Smurf for
Jeb,
and that thing I had so much. We did it all, and it's got it's set up performance bagger wise. Granted, it's an older bike, carbureted still, but man, that thing just is fun to ride.
Carbureted bikes are fun, dude.
Right.
I like
it's
them.
An O2, and from like a mechanical standpoint, like I think that's personally. I mean, yeah, it doesn't have the 6-speed, it doesn't have some bells and whistles and shit, but like I think overall that, from a mechanical engineering standpoint, is the best of all the shit they ever had.
Well, it's crazy how tiny the old baggers actually are.
Yeah.
I mean, that next to my Lowrider S looks like a dyno or a Sportster almost.
You notice, this is completely off topic, but it kind of sparked something in my head. You notice like the Chevy Colorado is like the size of like all the old full size trucks now.
Right.
Yeah,
And that's
fucking big
true to the
trucks.
state. Oh yeah. Yeah, it is.
I'm like,
They're not like
crazy.
the old Ford Ranger. You remember them little things?
Yeah.
Like you remember trying to get in the little jump seats in the back of the extended
Yeah,
cab
like
ones?
falls down and then you gotta like you gotta stare at the dude across from you.
Right.
Yeah, you
And
gotta
that's
put
the
your ass
same.
on 9 square inches of.
Yeah.
Well, I've always been a Mustang guy, and I've been into Fox bodies forever, and then I had a newer Mustang too. I'm like, this is such a big car compared to, and I thought that the Fox body was a big car.
Yeah,
It's
the Fox
not.
body seemed
They're
like
tiny.
pretty spacious inside those
Right.
things.
It was like a giant Ford Escort.
Yeah.
Everything's bigger.
The fucking big motor.
Get that GT Ford Escort. Fuck with me, bro.
Same thing with a Camaro, like a friend of mine him and his wife just bought a leftover Camaro convertible, and I was looking at the thing parked in my driveway. I'm like, this is a big ass fucking car.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
this is like an old Impala.
Yeah. I've actually liked some of we're talking about cars. What the fuck's wrong with us?
Gearheads.
I was just gonna say gearheads, totally.
No, but yeah, the bike thing. I don't know who's to say whether or not it's going to work or not. It's hard to tell that for me that I don't feel like Harley is paying attention, but then again I do. It's such a juxtaposition basically because they're kind of doing things right here and there, and then they're kind of like not. You know what they're really not doing? They're not really talking to us.
No, they're not at all.
You know what I mean?
I feel so distant from Harley right now. It's kind of crazy.
So apparently their magazine, they relaunched The Enthusiast, I think, which was supposed to be like the oldest dealer magazine thing that was, from like 1916 or some shit. That was like a publication from Harley, and it's supposed to kind of like give you some insight of what's going on. And I think that's kind of interesting to have, like a place to find some info instead of like looking at fucking Aquaman, online making videos about Harleys and shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I want to know make me excited about something
what
that
are
you guys are going to do.
Like,
yeah.
talk to us.
Well,
I never know what she's doing.
What's she doing back there?
Harley, fuck.
Meatloaf.
Yeah, for me, I don't know if it's like, to me, they treaded so heavily for so long on their history that it was like, 100 years and whatever. It's like, yeah, but you guys haven't done anything other than a fucking paint job, in different color palettes and whatever for so long that it's like, the Milwaukee-Eight's exciting and whatever, but dude, they should have had a
It was not exciting when it first came out.
No, it's not, and neither was the twin cam. That thing had a shit ton of problems too.
Well, so like when the Milwaukee-Eight came out, like I'm not a gearhead as far as like on your level or and like I said motor wise. So like I just assumed that they're going back to a single cam.
Yeah,
it's less moving parts, which is less cost to manufacture all that stuff, and but they did things that are easier to set up to, like, it's chain driven with a hydraulic tensioner, that's genius. It cuts down on your EPA mechanical
and
noise levels.
One chain tensioner as opposed to two that can go bad down the road.
Yep. And then you don't have to, your assembly time at the factory is seriously cut down. You don't have gear lashes to check and set up and all that other shit.
That is the thing. So like, me coming into Harleys, I came in like 2012 with you could take apart those bikes and everything went together like Legos.
Yep.
And then getting into FXRs, I was like, measure what?
You gotta know shit. Oh no.
Putting Timken bearings in the fucking wheels, like
Fucking
you gotta
end play.
measure.
What's that?
You gotta, what the hell? Like I just can't knock them in.
Best way to have an FXR is rip it all the way down and rebuild it with new stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, but it is nice because it definitely has a simplistic part as far as tearing it apart and reassembling it and whatever, and But
No, the single cam's always a nice low too at the
Yeah.
middle.
I mean,
Yeah.
the Evo always sounded good too, and the shredder sounds evil sitting there.
you know,
so.
I think that the Evo is, as we get further into the evolution of Harley, no pun intended, Harley engines and shit, I think the Evo motor is like really coming back in terms of people are like, holy shit, I really appreciate what a great engine that was.
Yeah.
You know,
You sound like an old school Harley guy.
dude,
Yeah.
but seriously though, I mean,
You gotta start cuffing your pants.
remember that wide glide that I had, that fucking that thing. So I ended up with a wide glide for like a hot minute, and that
was
thing,
purple.
it was called Moonglow Blue.
It was
God
purple.
damn it.
It was awful.
So, long story how I ended up with it, but you know, I was riding around on that. I'm like, this fucking thing doesn't make a tick. It doesn't make a clack. It doesn't make any kind of crazy fucking sounds it shouldn't, where you're like, what's that noise? And then you pull off, you know, like the old lady's annoyed because you got to get off at every stop sign and put your ear to the motor and be like, I don't know, I hear something.
You just carry a long fucking flathead or long Phillips head. And you just,
stethoscope and exactly.
Well,
And
you've got the miles on your. What do you got for miles on yours?
39,300-ish.
Man,
Right
you-
now, they're pulling it out.
You had any hiccups on it?
Not
or
one
nothing?
problem.
on the
Yours
Milwaukee-Eight.
what, a 18?
19.
19?
114. And I did the cam in it. Didn't do it. I didn't have a run out tool when I did it, so I didn't check it. So I just did a cam, didn't do an oil or a cam plate on it. Mm-hmm. You know, the one thing that scares me all the time is like adjusting push rods. It's like I learn how to do it in the process, and I get it right, and it gets done. Sometimes I get it right first time. But then I don't do it again for a year and a half until I get another bike.
Right.
And then I'm like, I go right back into that anxiety of trying to remember how to adjust the push rods and things like that. And
you end up rolling the rear wheel over
Yeah.
about 30 times.
Right.
yeah, wait until it gets to top dead center
Yep.
and shit. But no, I put that in the cam in, and I've had the cam in there since 10,000 miles, and absolutely bulletproof. I feel like no issues ever. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
I'm really proud of that motor, and I was telling people, it's like, it feels like I had a bunch of people buy new CVOs, probably about 18-ish. A bunch of friends bought them, and then their motors were blowing on their rides home from the dealership.
Oh,
Right.
boy.
You
Those
know,
are
it
like
was a
old
bunch
AMF
of-
days.
Yeah. And then, you know, so I was I bought a 17 Road Glide first. New one, painted it up, was going to go deep into it. And then I wanted to travel on it. And that's when everybody started talking about the oil sumping issues and all that. And I was like, man, I just, you know, with the podcast, I need to be able to know that I'm going to get on the road. The bike's going to make it.
Right.
You know, things like that. So I was like super nervous about it. It's like, I just get an FXR. So I sold that Road Glide, and I was going to get another FXR because I was starting to kind of understand them real well. And then the new Road Glides came out with the side fairings. I ended up buying that. And like I said, man, this motherfucker has been a solid bike.
Yep.
You know, motor, no issues. Put that cam in there, woke it up, and man, that thing feels. I still enjoy it. I mean, it's not as fast as, you know, like the Softails are with the cam and things like that, but
Right.
man, it still feels good.
Yeah.
You know,
They are definitely, I mean, any of the ones we've done just cam at the shop.
dude, to get
they're all
100
over
horsepower out of a 103 or whatever, like, you're doing some work, dude.
Right.
You know,
You got to definitely crack into it a little more for sure compared to the Milwaukee-Eights.
You got there are a lot more. You got to really have the correct components. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, they're a lot less forgiving as far as like, you know, maybe you can have a little bit of a not as great exhaust, you know, or your intake can be, you know, because some of that is just sheer swept volume, you know, and engine size. I mean,
Yeah.
it's going to make fucking dumb power no matter what.
Yeah.
You know, but I think that
my bike still scares the shit out of me. I haven't even got it all the way into it yet. And I still
Did you
got
do a
stock
cam
head.
yet?
Well, yeah, I've got mine's a 128
Okay.
S&S jugs, and then I did full, probably too big 592 fueling cam, the whole race chest and
Yeah.
everything in it, just to push it to the end. But it definitely, I'm sure it needs some head work to really crack into it. But she's a monster.
I haven't really asked a lot of people yet, and I don't know because I don't know if anybody fucking even knows. But with that 131 crate engine that's going in there, I wonder, the people at Woods reached out to me about doing a cam in it, but I wonder if it's kind of like the way our normal inmates are, where it's like 84 horsepower and you put a cam, it's like 107.
Right.
You know?
I feel that any aftermarket cam is going to be better than the Harley cam just because they're so clamped on the EPA. So that 131 with a cam in it, I'm sure, and I haven't been seeing, I mean, they're so new. Has anybody been camming them yet?
Apparently, like I said, Woods reached out and said they had a cam, but nobody seems to have any information on a crate motor. All they have is the kit.
Oh.
You know, everybody's talking about the kit and what that does, but what does a crate motor do versus the kit, and then what does the crate motor do with the cam? It comes with a big-ass, like, intake and throttle body and all that stuff, and the heads are flowed out, apparently, and it's got the injectors, and it's supposedly got all the bells and whistles, but I imagine it still has to be restricted in some kind of way.
Right. They still got to meet some sort of, you know.
Well, and the thing too is, I
EPA,
mean, like everything that they do is like, even if it's full, you know, like set on kill. I mean, even if it's set up like that, you got to remember, like, they got to put a fucking warranty on it of some kind.
Right.
So they don't want these fucking things coming back, you know. Like,
I don't think I'm getting a warranty on mine because I told them the only way this is going to happen is because I run thundermax, and they're a sponsor of mine. So I was like, if
warranty void.
No, yeah. And I think
what's
too.
a warranty anyway?
Yeah, I think that you're better off going. Like, for me personally, like, I'm willing to chance having no warranty and have shit on the bike that I know works. That's gonna be that I can trust. It's gonna be done right, you know. And the tune is like fucking. I don't care what kind of combo you got. The tune is, without it, you're not going anywhere.
If I leave here on the bike and it blows before I get to the goddamn docks to get on the damn thing, I don't give a shit warranty or not. We're going to get this fixed. I'm going to be like those customers y'all had back in the day. I'm like, yo, dude, well, you had a Thundermax on it, and that blew the motor. Like, fuck off with that shit.
Yeah, right.
Oh, that's crazy, too.
That'll be interesting. I can't wait to see what you have to say about that bike. You'll be the first one I know with a 131 in it. So
some people that, when I made the post online that I was getting it, a lot of people reached out and said that they had one and they've been riding it, it's fine. But then again, like I said, I am running a Thundermax. They probably went the Harley tuner way.
Right, which is awful.
Yeah. And then I have a really, really restrictive exhaust on there with that Two Brothers, but the look versus I don't want a long pipe on it, you know what I mean? And so I'm fucking myself there a little bit on power.
Yeah. As long as you understand that, though.
Yeah.
You're not expecting the world out of it.
So, but I want to do another exhaust or find another company that has an exhaust. But the other thing is that I have mid controls, and like I can't run any Bassani exhaust because it hits where my mid controls are. And
sounds like you need to dial up with Horsepower Inc.
Yeah, I'm supposed to go see them here pretty soon. So
they've got the full one out too, which would probably be a banger. It'd probably work well with the 131. I'm sure.
Jimmy Light is the fucking hot boo.
Yeah,
that guy knows his shit.
I'm gonna talk to him, but my thing, I'm a visual guy, and I love Jimmy to death. I just can't. I don't like the pipe. Not the pipe. I don't like the muffler. I like that traditional fucking cone look.
And that's where we hit the fork in the road, because I'm the mechanical guy. I'm like, does it work? Fuck it, cool.
Right. It reminds me of a D&D pipe from back in the sport bike days.
I love HPI exhaust.
Cans.
Well,
but yeah, that shit reminds me of that. But no, I do. I don't know. Hopefully we can work something out. And for everybody listening, I did not get a free motor, because that's the thing that everybody keeps thinking. It's not fucking free.
Oh, like you just go to get the mail and there's a fucking engine on your doorstep.
Yeah, it's like, Harley. The funny thing is, like, when everybody's asking me, I'm like, yeah, I'm headed up to Milwaukee. Oh, what are you doing? Getting a 131? Harley Corporate's giving you a 131?
Right, like you're in the back door.
Yeah, no, dude, not even close.
Yeah, Harley doesn't give away anything.
No, but I got this sweet dog leash.
No, that'll be.
They gave me a ticket to the museum so I can get in for free.
There you go.
What's
You've never been to the museum?
Never been, no.
It's awesome
dude, it is awesome.
So
if there's one fucking thing Harley Davidson has nailed in 110 fucking whatever 15, 30 years. I don't know. I've been out of the industry a couple of years. Like
115 this year, right?
Yeah.
In the 300 years that Harley's been making motorcycles, like, if there's one thing they nail, it's that fucking museum.
Yeah.
And if you can find a way to finagle your way into the back, I think they have this like dealership.
So I got
tour.
I'm getting the fucking player hookup.
Are you?
So,
dude, it's awesome.
I guess the guy that runs the dealership is giving me and Tommy the tour tomorrow, personally. And then he's coming back here to do the podcast. So we're doing the tour, and that'll give me kind of like conversation, basically. Not that
Is he?
I just met you guys 5 minutes before we walked up here, and we've been doing fine. Are we best friends?
We are.
We're getting
Performance-
we're fucking getting
performance
bunk
bikes.
beds.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's
No power tools.
it's so awesome at the museum. It makes you and I'm a history person anyway, and it just
I've been there a half dozen times. I see cool shit every
seeing
time.
the serial number one. Pictures don't do shit.
Yeah.
Being able to actually see that thing, and they've got it marked off where they built that thing, and it's just like that's the history that I so love about Harley and the American part of it. Like,
and it really flows. Like, you know, Van said, you walk in the door, you see serial number one, and then from there, I mean, there's just this very...
It's kind of like IKEA.
I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
You stay on the path and it'll take you everywhere you need to be.
Yeah,
You definitely go
you
through
end
the
up at
years
the end
of
with an
Harley.
empty wallet.
Yeah.
But there's this just very natural progression where you roll through the whole thing, and it's like chronological and very well laid out. And man, I just cannot say like even people who are not motorcycle people, not riders, they're not anything. If you just like something that is a really cool historical thing that's got great story and heritage behind it, man, fucking go.
right.
I know people that have been on like corporate tours, you know, their jobs or whatever. They out of the office and they fucking go down there and they're like, man, like I'm not into motorcycles, but that is one of the coolest museums I've ever been
That's
to.
cool. That's good.
And it's awesome that they've preserved that much history
Yeah.
of their own company.
Yeah. And like all the shit that they have that you see, which is almost endless, it seems, between both the floors and, you know, the middle and all the stuff. I mean, like they got at least, I thought they said when we got the tour there, it was like they had like 2 or 3 times that much shit in the archives.
Right.
It's
Now,
just,
hopefully you get to go behind
So I think
some of the
it's
gates.
possible, you know.
it's
I
like
don't
the
know.
If you
Indiana
get to go
Jones
back in
fucking
there.
warehouse where all the artifacts and relics and
Right.
shit are in the boxes.
And
It's
they
just
they
like,
tease
whoa.
you so much because, like, as a normal person going up there, you can go up to where like they store a ton of them, but you got to stay behind the glass. It's
Yeah.
like, but I want it. But there's something back there I want to see. Come
Yeah.
on, man.
Yeah, it really is. It's awesome.
See, I was talking to somebody once on this podcast, and they were asking me, and I'm definitely a history guy for that, but I wasn't like. There's a lot of museums across the country that preserve old motorcycles in their original form, and it just doesn't interest me. So that's what I was kind of worried about. Like, but with Harley, there's like a story behind everything. This is the company that made it. So to me, seeing that original panhead or knucklehead or whatever is way different than just seeing the original knucklehead in somebody else's museum collection.
Right.
And there's shit too that you didn't. They have their like prototype stuff that like you had no idea that they made, you know, or some experimental thing where they had.
They got
like
the
this,
Nova in there, right? The
Oh yeah. Oh
yeah.
my god.
Yeah.
Thank God they didn't pursue
dodged the bullet with
that.
that one.
Right.
Yeah, and they got some snowmobiles and like fucking boat that they had for a hot minute, but yeah, they, you know, really really cool shit, man. It is so. I don't know how anybody could come to Milwaukee and not know about that and want to go.
Right. Yeah. Even my wife had a good time there. It's just they just did it right.
Yep.
And it's like you said, you go to any museum with bikes, it's just like, okay, here's, you appreciate what it is, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Something without.
I grew up with custom things, so like I like to see things that have been modified, and especially like if I saw a lot of shit like original custom choppers from the 50s and 60s, I'd be like, fuck, that's dope.
Yeah.
Check out some
they
of the
have
paint
that
that
stuff
they were
though.
doing.
They do.
Yeah, that's like part of the and that's why I think they did such a great job is like you get to, I don't know, you're getting near the end. You're probably in like the last quarter of the whole thing. They have the custom bike scene.
Right.
And like
The movie
how
scene and
like
all
they
that
got
with
bikes
it.
from the
Yeah.
movies and how it really started to become this customization and personal expression of fucking whatever, you
Individualism.
know. Yeah, all
Yeah.
that bullshit.
Yeah, that stuff.
Lots of isms.
Yeah, you can get individualism in the catalog, I hear. But, and that's just, and then they got, motorcycle club section and, their influence on biker culture. And then it's just really, it's awesome. They had the.
So what you're saying is probably the people that work in corporate need to do weekly tours to stay on.
Right. Maybe they should go and take a little tour. And
Yeah. I
I could
remember what
fucking work for the museum the way I'm peddling it right
Right,
now.
and I thought
Yeah.
you did. Where's my ticket?
Yeah, I just think they did such a fantastic job with it.
The corporate people in general need to get out and hang out at some bike nights or something in general, I think. And I don't...
So there's one of the corporate dudes lives in Dallas, and he's out there. He hangs out.
Is he?
You know,
and I'm not trying to put all of them
He actually is a
box,
biker,
but,
you know, and I dig him. But, you know, at the same time, I don't know all these other guys, and, you know, I don't know. It's just, like I said, we don't know anything that's going on. So it's it's really hard to... it's like at least if we had, like, some kind of, like, window into, like, what's going on, we would kind of be more patient. Like, all right.
Right.
I think that if there was a window into what's going on, you'd shut the blinds. Because I don't know, I think my personal gut feeling is there's probably just mass fucking panic up there.
You know what I feel like it is every time you have a company that makes something that is like the passion of somebody else, like whether it's the company that makes the paint for us custom painters or the company that makes the parts for you builders. I'm talking about corporate shit though, so like not like maybe Vance and Hines, but like not the smaller guys like us, right?
Right.
I feel like they're all just like the people that work at Walmart. Like they're probably like some office romance going on.
Right.
Everybody's stressing out because the boss is coming. It's like the regular job place bullshit.
Oh, yeah.
Not like this like group of people sitting at this table for hours at night drinking beer going, you know what we should do?
Right.
Chop it there.
Right.
Let's put that in there.
Well, even like you doing Instagram for, you know, Z1R, you're trying to show the normal people still in it, not the corporate person going, is that our part on that motorcycle, or should we post that again? Or like,
my focus group find out that we don't like to use this word in marketing. You know what I mean? Like, dude, don't waste your money on that bullshit.
Right.
Yeah.
You know? So there's those, and I don't know how that, I just assume that's probably what it's like, because when I've been around, like when I go to SEMA with the companies, I feel like a lot of times they kind of come off that way. Like they don't know, they're not as knowledgeable of the culture that they're peddling their parts to.
Right.
Yeah.
They made their money. They're
a little
up
disconnected.
Disconnected, yeah.
And I think, like, my personal feeling is, and maybe they haven't realized it, but I mean, everybody knows that the demographic that can afford new Harleys they're getting up there in age, you know, and they're to the point where they're like, yeah, I'm not buying a fucking $40,000 bike or even a $28,000 bike, you know, because some of them are just flat out getting too old to ride.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's a serious gap there where, you know, there is something Harley cannot do about it. And I don't know if they realize that or not.
Yeah.
And maybe they do, and that's why they're starting to really scale back production, but I think they're going to end up scaling it way back before they can get it so that it's a sustainable kind of thing again, because right now it's just hemorrhaging money because there's people just, you know, and I think it's only compounded by the fact that the younger generation doesn't care about a driver's license. Like, everybody I know either has a kid or knows somebody who has a kid that is like fucking 19 or 20 and has no driver's license. Right. Because they just take an Uber everywhere, or they, are playing on their phone and too busy to fucking even care about cars.
I think we're in that part with Harley right now. They are hurting, and they're not selling to a market right now. But all those dudes are out getting dynas and stuff right now. Eventually, they're probably going to end up moving up to something that Harley's going to be offering, as long as Harley can stay the course. I mean, let's be real. I don't think Harley's going anywhere, but I think
nobody ever thought Sears Roebuck was going anywhere either, and you buy a fucking gun and a motorcycle from them.
If Harley just stays the course and just doesn't hit the whole panic button and start doing just crazy stuff like the Nova, and you know, just stay the course and let's see what happens with all the newer.
I think they just need to maintain the soul though that the bikes have, because it's like, man, if like. And, you know, nothing against anybody who owns a street, but it's like when the street came out, like the 500s and the 750s, like I looked at that and like everything on it just screams like rebadged Hyosung.
That thing was an insult to the Harley.
Yeah,
I'll still
I know exactly what you're talking about.
That was an insult to the Harley badge.
It really was. I was kind of like, wow. And then, you know, I get, you know, people wanted to get pissed off about them, you know, focusing on some of their overseas markets and things like that. But I understand Harley having to do that. The problem is that you show up to a place like India where there's a shit ton of manufacturers and little scooters and bikes and everything. You try to compete in that market and you put like, you know, hardly any dealerships in or service centers in that country, along with an overpriced product. you know, like you guys are way behind the 8 ball right out of the gate.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, why would you even pull the trigger on that?
Right.
Why even want to? You know what I mean? Like, why do you have to?
I think they need the income.
I think they
that
feel the
constant
pressure,
growth, though.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's the corporate fucking. That's capitalism when it gets to the bad part, where you can't just make a product and be comfortable with profits every year that you are making.
Right.
You have to make moves to make more profits, and you have to continue to grow and scale. And that's no matter what company you are, you're going to grow and scale to a point where you can't anymore, and you're going
Right.
to be losing, but you're also a fucking billion dollar company.
Yeah,
you know
right.
what I mean?
And the thing too is, I don't think a lot of, I'm not saying everybody'd be throwing them life jackets, if they had been easier to do business with, but Harley is not an easy company to do business with.
Mm-hmm.
They're just not. Like, I know people who are like, yeah, we make very high quality, high performance cylinders for Harley Davidson motors, and they had said that Harley had approached them one time about supplying cylinders for them. They're like, they beat us up on the fucking price so bad that it's like it was going to cost us money basically to be fucking supplying these things. And it's like, I'm going to cut my own throat to say that I supply parts to Harley Davidson. No.
Yeah.
Like, I still have to put food on my table. And it's
funny they want to market like the street and stuff anyway, because overseas, like, you see that they're into some performance stuff overseas.
Yeah.
There's some gnarly bikes, and especially I'm just gonna call it the monoshock because it's not a Softail, but those things are just crazy
monodyne.
over there.
Yeah.
They're nuts. Those guys are doing some cool stuff.
There's lots of badass bikes, and Australia has a strong scene. Japan, fucking Thailand.
I love Japanese motorcycle
India.
culture, like Harleys in Japan, and the customizing is
the
just
club style
fucking
Brazil,
awesome. Brazil, yeah.
Dude, they got
Dude, they got
all kinds of
like
stuff.
Dynamite Crew and all those guys down there. They got a whole fucking scene. You know what I mean? And so it's like, it's once again a young fucking market.
Right.
Here's
the performance end. And
it's literally like, say if we're sitting here going, you know what? How do we get a young market? And there's like 12 kids over there going like,
here we are.
What the fuck, man? It's like, man, if they were just right here,
right?
If they, man, like, how do we do this? Like, it's just crazy, man. When you see that and you're like, it might not be the size of people you need it to be, but if you fucking throw some water on them, they fucking pop like gremlins.
And exactly.
Like I said,
okay, you're not going to be just killing the profits with selling performance bikes to the younger crowd, but then you have someone that's loyal to the brand for how long? The rest of their lives. I just get on the train, Harley.
Yeah. I wonder if there's a way they could find a way to implement some of their products into like high school, vocational school type things. You know what I mean?
Well,
that's too American for high schools these days.
But that's the thing, though, too, because we have a whole generation that doesn't want to work with their hands. It's like, Harley, go to the high schools and set up some technicians.
Yeah. I think that's coming. I think that's going to come back, because I think the need for people work for those trades, I think is going to make the pendulum will swing back the other way eventually.
Well, mechanics in general are hurting, and it's like Harley would have a great opportunity if they got into the schools and started doing programs.
Yeah, well, at the same time, also, like, mechanics are probably hurting, but there's also an overabundance of them. I mean, if you think about it, like, not probably to the T of, like, here's the deal. Like, they're pumping out class after class at MMI and UTI and all these different places, right? And out of those people, there's probably, let's just say 2 out of every 20 kids that are actually competent and actually absorb knowledge and will be a factor in the workplace. And then the rest of them are going to be washing bikes.
They'll be out of, the other 18 are probably out of the industry within 5 years.
Exactly. So, I mean, you got to understand, like, that school is a business too.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Oh, it very much is. Some of the shit that I saw when I was in school there, I was like, oh my God, do not let that person ever touch a motorcycle.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, like, it's one of those deals, man. Like, the school is just the first step in a fucking long set of stairs to getting to be a mechanic. Mm-hmm. To be able to call yourself a mechanic in the Harley Davidson industry, for sure.
Right.
Especially at a dealership, you're going to put 5 years in probably before you'll get to start doing any real cool shit, if you will.
Yeah, definitely got to work your way up.
Yeah, go put these turn signals in real quick.
That was where the money was, though. That was the funny fucking thing, is that everybody was like, and that was actually part of the whole downhill slide that I was watching happen. You know, it's like in 2004 when I first started there, our riding season started as soon as the road was dry. Like it might even have salt on it still. And so like sometime in probably maybe early April, and then man, that thing went right up until you couldn't ride anymore, you know, late October maybe, and people were toughing it out. We had 10 mechanics and only one of them worked 40 hours because he could. Everybody else was working like 55, 60 hours a week, and we were fucking 6-7 weeks behind. Like I couldn't touch a 10K for almost 2 months.
God damn.
It was insane. We were the number one dealership in the 100th anniversary year in the country.
Wow.
I mean, and then, you know, next year there was maybe one less mechanic, and then another year is 2 less mechanics, and then maybe the schedule was only 3 weeks out. And you watch that happen until you start getting into like 2013, 2014, 2015. You got maybe a half dozen guys in the shop, maybe even 5, and you can get on a fucking 10K this afternoon.
Right.
That was the whole thing where I was watching it happen year after year after year, and I was like, this thing is, something's going on here. And
Yeah.
I didn't recognize it at the time as it being just an aging out demographic that was moving on. But like I remember when fucking trikes came out, I was like, God damn, I don't want to work on this fucking thing. I hate cars.
You want to buy one right away.
And then, I wanted to put pontoons on it and hit the fucking lake is what I wanted to do. But you know, like I was like, God, why are they shipping us so many of these things? Like we're never gonna fucking sell them. And I'll say that's one thing Harley recognized was that, you know,
It was aging out.
Yeah, it was.
Well, don't you think that like maybe a lot of the younger people weren't going to the dealerships because of just the cost of, you know, $115 an hour in some areas?
Right.
Fuck, we weren't even close to that.
You know?
Well, no, but I mean, others were.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, you're also talking about a time when the biggest, it was like the biggest motorcycle boom customization and aftermarket shops ever of the mid 2000s.
Yeah.
And then,
early
then into
2000s.
the big wheel baggers with all the shops that popped up out of that. And now, I mean, you could say the same thing with performance bikes. I mean, it's just different people that identify with different types of bikes, and it's, you know, capitalizing on those opportunities.
Yeah.
Right.
The problem is too the movements are out there, I think, you know, the performance bagger, big wheel bagger, Dynabro, whatever. But man, there's not very many people that can afford to drop their bike off and be like, this is the picture of what I want, make it happen. Yeah. You know, because you're fucking coming out of there with a $10,000 bill. Well,
So this is the difference between a dealership and the independent shops, and this is the argument: is that the independent shops end up having to bend over. They got 20, let's just say they got 200 hours in a build, and there's no way they're going to get even $80 an hour at 200 hours, right?
Right.
Well, the dealership is.
Right.
That's how shit works at a dealership.
Yep, totally. The thing is, though, is that the difference between the independent shop and the dealership is that the dealership has to pay for all those fucking displays up front, and they got to pay for that big ass sign that's out front, and they got all kinds of
Giant
other
buildings.
Yeah, I mean, like Harley makes you buy that shit.
Yeah.
And like all your lighting fixtures and your design motif, all of that stuff is theirs. And you got to get it from the place that they say it has to come from. Well, what if my friend can weld all that shit together and we get it powder coated? It looks exactly like that. I got the shit in my house. Nope. This is where you're getting it from. And that's the whole back scratching thing that I suspect happens at those high up corporate levels, where things you don't see, but like procedural
Kind of like
things get
lobbying. So it's like people
It's
in
exactly
Harley
what it is.
and the corporate are lobbying for their friends or people they know.
Their brother-in-laws, cousins, sisters,
has
fucking
a shop
yeah,
that makes these signs, and so now everybody has to buy that.
I totally suspect that that's what's
Yeah.
going on, and that's in a way the American way.
Yeah.
But it's still, you know, like as long as you're okay with not going and being able to buy a fucking Harley dog bowl, Harley, you know, whatever. As long as you're okay with not being able to do that, and maybe there's a little more dirt and shit on the floor, and there's not a fancy fucking customer lounge with an espresso maker and shit. Like as long as you're okay with not doing that, the quality of the work at an independent shop is going to be there. So, you know, and that is reflected in the price as far as not having all that other crap that you gotta, you know, with a cafe and a drag strip and a fucking hotel and all these other things that they come with, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think more people, that's the whole independent shop thing I was coming to, is that they're willing to sacrifice the quote unquote experience of the dealership to not pay $120 an hour and still get the same quality of work.
Well, and there's a passion to it. I mean, obviously, like even in the Papa Smurf build, I pushed his boundaries because I knew what the end game could be with the bike.
You ever seen the Papa Smurf bike? That fucking thing is sick.
Yeah,
it's so cool.
When you get done that way, because like I said, I don't have service. I need to find what the Wi-Fi code is up in this bitch.
But pushing the boundaries too, and okay, so if I have to, I have to like eat a little bit to, my passion takes over in the end to make a cool bike. You know, I'm gonna suck it up a little bit, and you know, if you gotta,
Van would rather cut you a deal on the wheels instead of doing a bunch of cool shit than hang some stock fucking wheels on it. You know, he'd rather cut you a deal on it to make sure it gets done.
Well, yeah,
right.
it helps to make the build look better.
Yeah.
You know, so that's I completely agree. I've done that a million times because at the end of the deal, it's like, yeah, I'm a dealer for this wheel company, and yeah, it's kind of high. I mean, I could take the cut and sell them to them at almost dealer to help finalize this build so that it gets more attention and people can see what we're capable of.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I'm still new into the, you know, my shop's only been here since May of 19. So I'm just, you got to eat a little bit at the beginning to.
So everybody hit him up for free shit.
That this is not a soliciting for.
Be a fucking line of people when we get back to the show.
Yeah, I'm here. Is this the free shit?
Right. Yeah. I want to.
What was that old school? He's like, is this the gangbang?
No, there is a passion, I think, in the independent shops alone. The ones that are pushing it, they want to see cool stuff out there.
And they have their name on it too, man.
And I don't get to charge like the big wheel bagger shops.
Yeah, and you know, like it's so funny because like I say this a lot, but the only time I ever met Ness, and it was at the V-Twin Expo, and he said, that was weird. He was sitting in a bar, I walked up, sat next to him, was like, man.
Arlen?
Yeah, I was like, hey, man. I'm just trying to say something to you. Hi, how you doing, man? You got any advice for a new shop?
He's like, yeah, don't be fucking weird.
Yeah, he's like,
get your hand off my lap.
Don't touch my leg.
But no, he said, man, he just said tires and oil changes.
Yep. That is the bread and butter.
And I was like, gotcha.
Says Arlen Ness that makes tons of awesome parts. And,
your money is not that's services, tires, oil changes.
You
and
definitely aren't
services,
making it on the builds unless you're a big name.
Yeah, and if you are making it on the builds, you need a fucking team.
Well, you know what I think and what I've noticed is that to get to the point where you're making the big money on the builds, you have to grind for years and years to build the name,
right,
to be valuable as a big build.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like you kind of have to do the crackhead shit for a while.
Yeah.
Right.
And then it's super hard to find like really qualified people that you're willing to turn around and trust your fucking $10,000, $12,000, $15,000 paint job that you just had to pay your painter for to fucking take that gas tank and not huck it onto the floor when they're putting it on the bike. Yeah. And that's a whole other problem as well. But.
I mean, yeah, there's lots of different obstacles in growing a quality shop, you know, and I mean, a lot of people, we were talking about this on the DA podcast, man. It's like, you know, I painted a lot of drug dealer bikes growing up, man. They were the only ones really given the opportunities, you know.
Yep.
But now it's like, now that I've had all that practice and stuff, you know, you get these people, these corporate guys, these older business people, or just people that have money in general, and then, you know, then you can kind of charge outrageous numbers for a helmet, and there's a line of 40 people waiting for their spot to get on.
Yeah.
You know, and it's weird how it happens because it isn't like something I was like, you know what, when I'm 25, I'm like, I'm just going to do crackhead shit my whole life and then get real famous for doing it, and then I'm going to start charging a shit ton of money for something that doesn't make sense. You know?
If I had a nickel for every time I heard that when I started at MMI, like, I'm going to fucking build choppers and then I'm going to make 150 grand per bike. I'm like, okay. Like,
but especially when you were at MMI.
Yeah. Oh, it was like right at the height of the whole motorcycle mania craze and Jesse James and West Coast choppers and stuff.
Insane prices for those things. Now they're $5,000.
Yeah. And really, and that's not to take anything away from Jesse and what he built. I mean, I think that guy is just phenomenally talented, but it's not his fucking bikes that I care about. It's just the fact that he's a fucking gearhead like the rest of us, and he has he's into everything.
Yeah.
Like, it could be a fucking steam engine, and it's like, dude, I want to know how that works.
Yeah, yeah.
And
We've had a couple of generations of bikes that didn't handle, though. That's why I'm excited about the performance.
yep,
Because, I mean, we had the chopper game, awful to ride.
yep.
The big wheel baggers, they look cool, but they're not fun to ride.
Yeah, there's tons of it, but no, it's like I said, it's good that you guys are, it just kind of the industry evolved to open. It's kind of weird because like as sport bike guys growing up, we've all kind of enjoyed that kind of motor and power and stuff, and it's just so funny how like 15 years later, all of a sudden Harleys are the new sport bikes for us.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's
Right.
it's just kind of like a perfect timing, or maybe it's just. It was inevitable.
Yeah,
We got
I don't
to
know
a
if it's
point,
by design or what, but
yeah, maybe it's just like unspoken collective of like, yeah, we tried all this other stuff that we tried to fit in or whatever, but man, like it just feels good to haul ass.
Yep.
Right.
And now we're making these slow bikes haul ass.
Yep.
Right.
So,
that's what's funny too, is that everyone's like, well, you got you guys are doing all these high horsepower builds and fucking got a dyno and all this other shit going on. It was like, what do you got done to yours? I'm like, I just laugh. I go, it's a bone stock 88-inch motor.
Yeah.
And that's not an indictment of like the reliability of performance builds or anything like that by any means. But to be honest with you, I just don't have the fucking time because it's still
It's still fun to ride, though. Like,
Absolutely.
The thing about the dynos is you can, I mean, the Patriot bike was just a cam, and everyone's like, why didn't you do it? Because previous bikes, I did engine work to every single one. Everyone's like, why not doing an engine? Why not doing this? Because it's fun as shit to ride.
Yep.
It's got a cam. It made right at 100 horsepower.
does what you want it to
It's
do.
a blast.
yeah.
You
Well,
know?
sometimes people only value the things as fun based on the money they spent on it
Right.
versus
or
like
overpower that
Yeah.
they don't need.
Performance work was so easy at the dealership to sell. Like we would do like dyno days. And like there'd be a fucking line of bikes down the hallway, out the door, and whatever. And I'd come out of the dyno room. Here's your sheet. And I was joking that like, I mean that would sell cams. That would sell.
Well, every friend wants to one up his friend. And
Dude,
have a faster one, so-
exactly. And you see them all standing in groups, and you can feel them all talking shit to each other as they're like flashing their dyno charts in front of everybody's face. I started laughing. I said, we should just like print off a ruler on the side of it so everyone can measure their dick. Like here, this
you
is.
probably came out with this one sheet that was embarrassing, and it's like, man.
Oh, I came out of there with somewhere it was like, yep, sorry, man. And he's like, oh, fucking what I was told it would make. And well, I'll tell you what, give me your wallet and I can make that. And that's not saying that I was like fudging anything, like I gave every single bike, they all get the exact same treatment. Is there ways to fuck with the dyno? Sure, absolutely, but I don't do that, and I don't want to do that because I don't fucking want those phone calls of people calling me up being like, motherfucker, I took my bike to whatever and it made 90 horsepower and you told me it made 120. Like, I'm not trying to get into that, dealing with that. It's just not worth it, But, yeah, there's a lot of things out there with the dyno and tuning bikes and whatever that, people really got to understand that like you really, really, truly have to be comparing apples to apples. If you're going to start saying, well, it made this much power on that dyno and it made this much on yours, what's up, because even when you're comparing apples to apples, the variance between machines is huge.
Yeah.
It really is.
In the conditions too also go into it, like temperature and humidity.
Yeah, all that stuff is, depending on what you use for a correction factor, a lot of that stuff gets factored in.
Yeah.
But, you can't take a build that you run with an uncorrected correction factor in the fall in Wisconsin, where you have very little humidity, you have nice cool temperature, very dense oxygen in the air, and you can't take an uncorrected correction factor and then put it up against a bike that you ran at an SAE correction factor in fucking July when it just got done raining for a week straight, and 30% of the air going into that engine is fucking water. Like that is not an apples to apples comparison. It's just not.
That's fair.
Yep.
So it's hard to educate people on things like that, and sometimes I'm just like, fuck it, like I'm not even gonna try.
Yeah, because you'd have to do it on a Facebook form. It's the only place they'll believe you.
Oh my god.
And then you can argue back and forth.
Oh my god.
Just like politics.
Yeah.
Well, on Texas baggers, they said that this would be this, and
Always.
And I trust all those guys that don't do what you do for a living to know what you do for a living better than you do.
Yeah.
There are some good internet resources out there, but it's just like finding a good doctor. You know, how do you know until, it's like, oh,
Shit,
okay.
I lived.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I came out of surgery and I'm not dead, so it had to be a success, and, but
Do doctors have Yelp?
yeah, Angie's List.
Angie's List.
You just review them. Yeah, I think the more the more you know, but
What if you could leave reviews for like escorts?
I think that's a thing.
You think?
But you got to Google pretty deep into it.
Yeah, you got to go down some.
I found one where a
That's
guy
in the
had
dark.
banged a porn star, a popular one. And he's like, it was fucking awful. It was $5,000. He said,
That's pretty cool. You
Yeah.
could pay for that at least.
and she's hot, but he's like, man, she came out and he's like, she saw this butcher and her titties were fantastic before, and now they're just not. She's just hacked up.
She had to do some crazy porn
Yeah.
later on. That's
He
why
goes,
she's-
I ended up banging some other chick later that night because I couldn't. He's like, I couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
Just wanted to-
So we'll end on that note.
Off topic on that one.
Well, cool, man. I appreciate it. Tell everybody where to find Vex Cycles online and your individuals if you have that.
VexCycles.com, and then follow Vex Cycles on Instagram and Facebook as well.
And you're out of,
Janesville, Wisconsin.
so it's kind of close to the border, pretty much. of-
Yeah, southern Wisconsin.
Yeah,
So cool.
You're
Yeah.
probably a quick 15 minutes from the border.
Yeah.
10 if you ride like us.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Where do they find you at too? Same thing or?
yeah, yep.
Cool.
Yeah, I don't even work in the industry full time anymore. I'm still a mechanic, but yeah, now I make enough money where I can afford to be in the industry
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Right.
have that passion back, and I don't want to fucking.
I want to get a job at like Walmart as a greeter so I can have taxes and then just go paint on the side.
Right. There you go.
Yeah, that's
Welcome to Walmart. Get your shit and get out.
yeah.
Scram. All right, cool. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it, man.
Thanks.
Thank
a
you.
lot.
Hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. I want to thank the guys at Vex Cycles for coming out once again, and House of Harley for setting up a nice little studio for us to work out of while I was in Milwaukee. If you guys want to support this podcast, you can do that by going to our Patreon, which helps us bring on more guests and build the quality of the show at patreon.com/fastlifegarage. Also, more importantly, check out our sponsors, Dreamrise John on Instagram and teamdreamrise.com, Paint Huffer Metal Flake on Instagram and painthuffer.com, and FastLife25 for 10% off. Thundermax EFI on Instagram and shoptmax.com. FastLife for 10% off at checkout. Lexin Moto on Instagram and lexin-moto.com. FastLife for 15% off your order on their website. Simpson Motorcycle Helmets on Instagram and simpsonmotorcyclehelmets.com, and Letric Lighting Co. and namscustomcycleproducts.com, and offer code FL2020 saves you some shipping. So check those guys out, and I want to thank them and you guys for checking this podcast out. If you're listening to this podcast on Apple or Spotify or whatever, please go rate it. Go give it a star or 2 or 4 or whatever the thing is. Help us get more traction and shit like that. So we're going to be back with Jeremy from Flat Out Friday probably this week. I believe it'll be this week. Yes, I think so. So we'll see you back in a couple days. Enjoy. Peace.